Happy new Premier League season to all of you, wherever you're listening to BBC Radio 5 Live this afternoon. Let's get the team news from our first commentary. Brighton against the newcomers Luton. Ian Dennis is there.
Well, it's 3 debutants for Brighton and Hove Albion, and naturally there's no Moises Caicedo. The latest regarding him, incidentally, is that only one club has made a bid. That was Liverpool. So Chelsea, for all their interest, yet to make a bid or register that bid with Brighton and Hove Albion. But they're without him. But they do give debuts to James Milner, Mahmoud Dahoud and João Pedro, the club record signing for £30 million from Watford. And Watford's arch rivals, of course, Luton Town. What a day this is for them. Back in the top flight after an absence of 31 years. They give 5 debuts for goalkeeper Thomas Kaminski, Mads Andersen, a defender signed from Barnsley, Ryan Giles, Issa Kabori on loan from Manchester City, as well as Tati Chong, who they brought in from Birmingham City. And the Luton fans are filing in away towards our right-hand side for a first glimpse of Premier League football for Luton Town.
We're going to keep Nathan with us now because we're about to talk about one of his former clubs, Nathan, who led Luton Town out of League 2 to League 1, played a big part in their rise from League 1 to the Championship. They're in the playoffs under him as well. Now, under Rob Edwards, they are in the Premier League, and our base for commentary at 3 o'clock this afternoon for the first time this Premier League season is Brighton versus Luton. Steve Sidwell is going to be alongside Ian Dennis. Afternoon, Steve.
Good afternoon, everyone.
You were in the Reading team that got to the Premier League after 130 years, so I'm sure you can imagine what this feels like for Luton.
Oh, of course, it brings back memories. You know, I'm just watching the Luton players now come out the tunnel, warming up. And that game when we got promoted at Reading, we played Middlesbrough at home. We was 2-0 down, and then we won 3-2, and that really set that Premier League season up for us, because it's everything that you aspire to. You want to play in the Premier League, for me the greatest league on this planet, and then you're asking questions to yourselves: can I deal with it? Can I cope as an individual, as a team? So they're going to be looking to get off on the right foot. It's going to be a tough place to come, but they will give a good account of themselves, play on the front foot, and listen, they've got to be clinical when they get chances.
Let's bring Nathan Jones straight in then on Luton Town. Nathan, how does it feel for you to see that club that means so much of you in the Premier League?
Yeah, it's brilliant. You know, it's been a long time coming. As I said, for myself, it's great to see them. I know the work that's gone into it from everyone at the football club. The good thing about the club is not one person is you're credited with that. It's so many people have had to come together. A little bit like the success of Brighton, to be honest. I know Tony Bloom gets a lot of credit, but to be fair, the whole club is full of a, it's a wonderful environment, great people, and Luton's exactly the same. So a real proud day for everyone involved, and obviously I realise the small part I've played in that.
Nathan, I was at the Championship game against Coventry, and I hadn't seen a lot of Luton last season, but when I watch them play, they are powerful. They know exactly what they're doing in regards to the press, the squeeze. They play the football when they get the ball back, create a lot of chances because of the press is so good in the final third. I don't think they can be overlooked, can they?
Oh, absolutely not. Look, it's a game plan that has been honed over a number of years. We realised that we didn't have the money to compete with, the other clubs in the division on terms of quality. So what we went with was aggression, was pace, power, and really went after teams in terms of stuff. No fear. That's the mentality that's instilled, and if they can maintain that, they have to defend well. But they were the best team in the Championship out of possession. Always scored goals, and that's a formula that they're going to really need to play to. Because as I said, the Premier League is a different proposition, but they've earned their right to be there.
Steve, I saw that there's at Luton Airfield there is a big sign for the plane's landing which says, "Pundits, get ready to eat your words." You will have felt that, at Reading. Yes. You will have felt that you were being written off by everybody. Is that actually all right? Is it a very handy fuel?
It is, and you use that fuel as a tool. I remember with positive results and negative results, we had a motto every week where we would stick certain clippings up around the training ground. In the end, more often not, it was positive ones, because as I said, we use it, and it really fueled us to come together. And I've read that this week, that the togetherness, there's no egos in this squad. There's a real good feel factor, and that is going to get them points just as much as what they do on the pitch as well.
Nathan, this gives us, we are going to talk about Brighton in a second, but it gives us an opportunity to mention Mick Harford as well, who you spent many years working with at Luton. He's a legend of the club. He was actually their top scorer the last time they were in the top flight. he's been through so much with prostate cancer and raising awareness for that as well. It's a wonderful day for him, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You know, as a player, he was a legend. He came back. I think he's done every role, really. You know, he's manager, caretaker manager, assistant to Joe Kinnear. He's been, you know, at the forefront of recruitment. And then now he plays a real ambassadorial role in terms of that. And it's brilliant for him. But it's so many good people that make around the club, you know, in terms of that. And that's the brilliant thing for it. And that's the exciting thing, because it's not a free hit, because they've worked hard to get there. It's just now they're there, they can have a right go, and that'll be the mantra.
Nathan, I've played against Big Mick, and as soon as his name was mentioned, I looked over my shoulder, I started to panic.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think, to be fair, you was pretty similar as well. So,
hey, steady on now, steady on.
People
Come
in
on.
glass houses and all that, you know. It's great to see City, to be fair, or hear City. I had a 6-month spell with City before he chased the money and went to Reading.
Oh, you can't.
That's what he does,
that.
Nathan, that's what he does.
Jonesy, we scored a goal. Do you remember the goal we scored? I think it was Forest away. I scored, and you put one in the absolute top bin away from.
I often tell people about it, because it's the greatest goal I've ever scored. I couldn't celebrate because we were 3-1 down at the time. There was only 20 seconds left, so it was one of those, you got to get the ball back. I was desperate to just back flick, knee slide and everything, but I couldn't, because we were 3-1 down at the time, and it was 9 minutes into injury time, so the game was dead.
I was waiting for you to say I haven't seen it since last night. So.
I love this. Nathan's already going after the studio guests.
Yeah,
He's going after the summarisers. I'm sure he'll be back in work soon.
It's the mantra. Get about them.
Sure, you'll be back in work soon, but you're welcome anytime. Right, let's hear from the man who's in charge of Luton right now, who took them to the Premier League, of course, through the playoffs. Rob Edwards, here he is, on finally getting underway in this Premier League season.
You know, we've got a big season ahead, and it's been a long time coming now. The final whistle at Wembley, or the final kick of the ball, and the elation then turns into something quite real. And obviously we've known for a couple of months, and now it feels like it's, yeah, obviously we feel ready, but yeah, excited, nervous, and probably everything you can feel. I think it's a fantastic opening game for us, an amazing challenge, and one we're really looking forward to.
Steve, here's a stat which will sound good to Luton fans. None of the last top-flight debutants were relegated in their first season. That's Bournemouth, Huddersfield, Brentford and Brighton. Are there some similarities with when Bournemouth came up to the Premier League?
Yes, yeah, there is. I think everyone that comes up to the Premier League, you're riding that wave, aren't you? You know, you've got the euphoria of getting promoted, a great off-season, you're looking forward, you can't wait to actually come back and do a pre-season, you look forward to the pre-season games, and then the fixture list. You know, when them fixtures come out, and then that first game is there and waiting, that's what you're looking forward to. And there are similarities with every team that comes up, and there's always one team that always kicks on more than the others. There you always get one or two that struggle, and you get the one that really kicks on. And Luton, they could be that dark horse out of the three that have come up.
Right, let's talk a little bit more about Brighton. Like most summers, they've had to deal with losing key players, and even now they're waiting to find out where Moises Caicedo is going to go. Let's hear from their manager Roberto De Zerbi on how he's dealing with the departure of these players.
I've already forgotten Moise. We want to improve the squad, because we lost McAllister, we lost Colwill, maybe we lose Caicedo. But I think we have to be ready, because when the players leave is because they played well, but the credit is for the club, for the players, for us, the coaches. I think the big club can buy the players, but they can't buy our soul and our spirit. That is not on the market, and this is most important than the players when they leave.
That's Roberto De Zerbi. So, Dave, their spirit is not on the market, is what De Zerbi says. But I might have missed out one of the players here in recent years. Cucurella, Bissouma, Ben White, Trossard, McAllister, Burns, Sanchez, shortly Caicedo. At some point, will they have sold one too many?
I don't think so, no. I just think there might be a year of development, and that's it. You know, you look at that midfield of McAllister and Caicedo, I'd say it's probably one of the best in the league from last season. That's not there anymore. But I wouldn't worry. I think João Pedro is a great signing. You know, his ability to carry the ball and beat people more dribbles than any other player in the Championship. But then you look at players that come back from loan from, you know, where they've purchased. Simon Adingara was absolutely awesome in the Belgium League last season. We're talking 12 goals, 9 assists in there. Like, they have players to come in and facilitate these roles. So I am not worried at all about Brighton. It might be a season this season where they've got Europe. First time that they're going to be playing in the Europa League. It's going to be exciting for them. They might finish mid-table, but then next summer they'll, you know, one of these players will come up. One of these, you know, the next Caicedo, the next McAllister will be there.
I think Brighton have got the knack now. They know what's going to happen. They understand and accept what's going to happen. They'll take the money, but they'll prepare before they allow it to happen. That's what they do. They prepare, they get somebody in place of the person that's going to be leaving ready to go. They know exactly what's going on. They're a well-run football club, and I don't worry for them at all, because you know, when it's one out, there's another round peg to go in that round hole.
So there's a really good account on Twitter called Scouted Football, really smart guys, and they were saying that they ran some numbers to replace Moises Caicedo, and a guy that came out was Mark Leonard, a Scottish under-21 international who's played 3,200 minutes for Northampton Town.
He sounds like a Brighton player to me.
He's on loan from Brighton.
There you go.
Interesting, very interesting. Well, if you look at the team sheet, Steve, you've got Dahoud in there in centre mid, who I suppose is the McAllister replacement. James Milner starts next to him, so he is being tasked immediately with covering the Caicedo job, isn't he?
He is, and looking at De Zerbi's press conference yesterday, described him as a top player, and one that's probably going to be used more than what he was definitely at Liverpool with the minutes that he didn't get. He still possesses unbelievable fitness. I played with Millie when he was at Aston Villa, and he's had an unbelievable career, and he's not finished. No, he's not finished yet. What he's going to give to this squad and this team off the field is immense, but what he can also give to them on the pitch, and for 90 minutes plus, for sure, throughout this season. But they're still going to be looking. You know, and the model that they've got, you're right with what the guys are saying in the studio, they've got the correct model where when one goes, they've already got one there to replace, but everything's working at the moment. That could come to a stumbling block down the line. But what I like is that they've just got their price tag for everyone, and they don't budge on that price tag.
Yeah, just put a price tag on it and eventually Chelsea will pay it. That's effectively how it works. Just stick with the same number and eventually they'll get there. Thank you very much, guys. Arsenal holding on at the moment. Really got to start with a win after Manchester City's dominant start against Burnley. These, though, are the sounds of Brighton. Luton Town are back in the top flight. It's our first commentary of this Premier League season. We'll bring you the fastest goal service around as well. And Steve Sidwell is with our senior football reporter, Ian Dennis.
A fanfare and fireworks on the south coast as the two teams come out in the newly unveiled Tunnel Club here at the Amex Stadium on the south coast. And as you say, what a moment for Luton Town, back in the top flight after a 31-year absence, and the first club to return to the top tier after leaving the Football League. And just think, that rise from non-league to the Premier League has taken just 9 years. Brighton, who know all about adversity and turbulent times, share the excitement on this opening day as they embark on a season where they will sample European football for the first time. The away end is absolutely packed. The orange shirts, there are plenty away towards our right. All of a sudden it's got very misty due to the fireworks. You can smell the sulphur, and you can certainly sample and taste the excitement from both clubs. Steve Sidwell.
Oh, it's a huge day. The Premier League is back. Newcomers are in town. Can they get off on the right foot? They're up against one of the most feared teams in the Premier League last season. Nobody liked coming up against Brighton. Had plenty of chances, plenty of goals. They broke records. They're in the Europa League. This is all built up to be an outstanding game today.
Well, the two teams for Brighton and Hove Albion know Moises Caicedo. Get the impression that Roberto De Zerbi, for the time being, has already moved on. Whether he moves on, only time will tell. Despite Chelsea's interest, only one club has made a bid, and that is Liverpool of £111 million. But they do give 3 debuts today in the starting 11, and one of them is a familiar figure at Anfield in James Milner, who Alongside Lewis Dunk, Jean-Paul Van Hecker, there's no Webster, and Estin Pignan at left back. We're expecting Milner to play at right back. We'll wait and see, because Gross, of course, can also fill in there as well. Jason Steele is in goal. Mahmoud Dahoud is another debutant, the first Syrian-born player to play in the Premier League. German international, signed on a free from Borussia Dortmund. And at the other end of the spectrum, João Pedro, club record signing of £30 million from Watford, is the other debutant. Gross, Dahoud, March, Pedro, Welbeck and Matoma complete that lineup for Brighton. 5 debuts for Luton Town. Kaminski is one of them, the former Blackburn Rovers goalkeeper in goal. Mads Anderson is somebody they've signed from Barnsley. He'll play in a back three with Tom Lockyer. Great to see him back on the field of play. You might remember he collapsed during the playoff final. Terrifying at the time due to that irregular heartbeat. He had a procedure to cure that in May. So Lockyer, Amari Bell, and then the wing-backs Kabore and Ryan Giles, who also make their debuts. Marvellous Nakamba has signed permanently after his loan from Aston Villa. Pelly Ruddock, who made his debut 10 years ago for Luton Town at Alfreton in the non-league. He is the first player to go from the 5th tier to the Premier League with one club. Pelly Ruddock in the midfield, Adebayo, Chong and Carlton Morris. So Luton Town in their bright orange shirts and their navy shorts will be playing from right to left as we look in this first half, and Brighton Hove Albion in their blue and white striped shirts will be attacking that away end. It's the usual goal service, will go here, there and everywhere. Our figures were heading towards around 2 million listeners last season, so that thing won't have changed as everybody now takes the knee in the message that there is no room for racism as part of the Premier League. You'll see that replicated up and down at every Premier League ground on this opening weekend, and it was warmly applauded by the supporters here at the Amex as we are underway. And Luton Town, whose last game in the top flight was Notts County, May 1992. They hadn't won at all away from home in that campaign, but after 31 long years, they are back rubbing shoulders with England's finest in the top tier. And Brighton Hove Albion, as you say, they don't come much tougher after what Roberto De Zerbi has done. He's taken Brighton to another level from Graham Potter, who worked wonders himself whilst he was here. Brighton, of course, did well last season. Arsenal, well, they were top for 248 days in the Premier League last season, and they are underway, and in fact they've just finished in that early kick-off. Nottingham Forest full-time, John Southall.
And they've started with a win, Ian, but only just. Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1, 2 up at half-time through Nketiah and Saka. Awoniyi pulled one back 8 minutes from time. Forest gave it a right go in the second half, but not enough. Arsenal 2, Forest 1.
And earlier in the Championship, Coventry City beat Middlesbrough by 3-0. Brighton and Hove Albion with March taking over now is Milner, and he wins a corner. Milner is playing on this near side.
He is playing on the right back, yes, but as much as he's going to be disciplined and diligent in his defensive duties, you will see him being fluid in his movement, linking up there with Solly March and gets an early corner for the Brighton team,
which Gross is going to take. March actually is also there if the short option is required. So Brighton playing from left to right in front of the away support, and they're waiting to take this corner kick. The right arm goes aloft from Pascal Gross. March not required. It's an outswinger. Dunk rises, comes off his head in the penalty area. Matoma tries to keep it alive, rebounds almost towards Welbeck. Now over on that far side is Dahoud, who turns and delivers the cross, and Dunk with a header just couldn't keep it down. But no wonder De Zerbi is applauding above his head.
Yeah, they have started brightly, haven't they, Brighton, and especially Matoma on that left-hand side, jinking his way to get half a yard, manages to stab a ball to the back post, and Dunk unmarked there, probably just a little bit too high for him to get his head to knock it back down towards goal. Over the bar it went.
This is the opening day of the Premier League season. On the last day of last year's campaign, it was a rather nervous affair at Goodison. We'll go there now, Lee Blakeman.
Everton 0, Fulham 0, but Neil Maupay could have scored inside 30 seconds. Played in behind, right side of the area, tried the shot, hard and low, a whisker wide of the bottom corner. Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Chong looking for a little touch, runs into trouble, tries to hold on to the ball, then runs into the referee, David Coote. Thought maybe he might have actually given an uncontested drop ball for the way he got involved there, but he's let the game flow as David Coote, who, would you believe, was in charge of Luton Town 14 years ago when they took on Kettering Town at Rockingham Road.
14 years ago.
And if you think, from non-league to Premier League, 9 years, the first club to return to the top flight after leaving the Football League. Already I've heard Wrexham saying, we hope to do a Luton Town. They have, in many years ago, you'd say, could they do a Wimbledon, when Wimbledon came into the Football League in 77 was it? Yeah. And now all of a sudden people say, well, let's try and do a Luton.
Well, it's a great story, isn't it? And very similar to one of Brighton nearly going out of extinction. And it's what it's about, the fans, isn't it? The community all coming together, and for them to do it so quickly, can they sustain their Premier League status next season?
Well, here is Morris picking up the ball and charging at the Brighton defence. He runs left-hand side of the penalty area and cuts it back, and Jason Steele gathers it in low, making that save inside his 6-yard area. Now he throws the ball out to Estepinian over on that far side. There's a real intensity to these opening 4 minutes.
Yeah, as you can see, Rob Edwards definitely saying to his Luton team, get on the front foot, let's be diligent when we defend, but when we get a chance to attack, let's go at pace, as they just showed there in that last one.
Giles looking to try and touch the ball in field to Adebayo. They lose the ball. March now picks it up, and a measured pass out towards Estepinian on that far side. Estepinian runs forward. He makes good ground too. Diagonal ball taken into the path by João Pedro into the penalty area. It might fall back towards Gross. Back towards Pedro, stuffs it. My word. Luton Town had only just sort of dealt with the initial attack, but it was kept alive by Gross. And a cleaner strike by João Pedro, who sprang back to his feet so quickly, you're thinking Brighton have got the goal.
It should be 1-0 Brighton there. You're thinking the chance had gone on the first one. It was a great ball from Estupiñán. Pedro just tried to get it a touch, but it was a great tackle from Lockyer, but he rises to his feet before any Luton defender, and it's a put on a plate from him, from Pascal Gross, literally on the 6-yard box. He won't get a better chance than that all season, I'm sure. All he has to do is just side foot it into the goal and scuffs it and drags it past the far post.
It's the voice of Steve Sidwell, the former Reading, Chelsea and Aston Villa player who finished his career at Brighton. And just thinking about it, Paul Trollope, who's on the bench with Rob Edwards, he would have been here with you under Chris Hughton, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Troll's great coach. I think it was with probably Rob when he was doing his coaching badges. I think Rob Edwards done his through the Welsh FA, where I done mine actually, along with Mikel Arteta, Patrick Vieira, a long list. And as you can see with this football club, he's gone on from strength to strength. Brighton, as we've seen with this posh seats next to us.
I know, yeah, the Tunnel Club. I think it cost you something like £9,000 for the season.
A short change for you.
You're joking, I work for the BBC. Here is Chong coming forward now outside the centre circle, checked by Estepinian, and that'll be a free kick. And Estepinian is going to get shown a yellow card from the referee David Coote. So the first booking 6 minutes in.
A little bit harsh, I think, that one on Estepinian. So you can see him knocking the ball wide and trying to run around him, and he keeps his arms in. He doesn't move out in the way of Chong, but obviously David Coote feels as though he's impeded him on purpose.
Got to say, if you haven't had chance to listen to it yet, Howard Webb, head of the PJMOL, in conversation with Mark Chapman. You can get it on the 5 Live Football Daily feed on the podcast, about half an hour long, but it does give you a great insight as to how the referees are going to try and change things this season, the initiatives, their approach that Howard Webb is trying to instigate as that ball goes forward, and then it's sent over over the head of Anderson and towards that penalty area, and Brighton get the ball away. We'll go into the to the Championship. Goal Southampton, Paul Scott.
Not the start they wanted at a sold-out St Mary's. It's Southampton 0, Norwich 1, across from the right, headed in by Josh Sargent at the far post. 7 minutes gone, Saints 0, Norwich 1.
Both won last week on the opening day of the opening weekend of the Football League season, because of course Southampton have played at Sheffield Wednesday on the Friday night, but they are ahead. There are no other goals to tell you about. It's the usual goal service on a Saturday. New season on 5 Live, same old service. More live Premier League games than anyone else. And to follow this, after Sports Report, we'll be at St James's Park for Newcastle United against Aston Villa. Aston Villa, who've recruited so wisely. As Welbeck shoots from distance, and it just goes wide. He teed himself up. It was a good 30 yards out, and he hit it right-footed and screwed it just off target. Goal kick, 8 minutes played. We're going to go to Goodison. Lee Blakeman.
Everton 0, Fulham 0, but Everton have had another great chance. Decore down the centre, went through one-on-one. Great save by Leno with his trailing right foot. Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Lee have taken an early lead, 2-0 against Hull KR in the Challenge Cup final. Commentary of that is on Sports Extra, the iPlayer, as well as the BBC Sport website. It is live, in fact, on BBC One. And earlier, St Helens beat Leeds Rhinos 22-8 in the first ever Women's Challenge Cup final at Wembley. BBC Radio 5 Live, 8.5 minutes played. 5 Live, the World Service and BBC Sounds here. Good effort from Welbeck, wasn't it?
It was a great effort from Welbeck, yeah. I don't think his first touch meant for it just to pop up, but it did. And it just sat there beautifully to hit with the laces. You get enough power on it, gives it a little bit of dip, and it's like it just sort of skimmed the back net behind the Luton goal there.
Burton 0, Derby County 1 is the latest score in League One. No others to tell you about just as yet. This is Van Hecker at the back. Blonde-haired Dutch defender. Lewis Dunk now takes over. Lewis Dunk signed a new 3-year deal in July. Now Pedro. Gross tried to lay it off first time towards Welbeck. There was Ruddock to break it up. Pelly Ruddock for Luton Town. And now making good ground over on that far side is Cavore. He has done very well and delivers a low cross from the right. Nobody could get on the end of it. Adebayo and Morris were there.
Well, that's going to be the game plan, isn't it? Stifle Brighton as much as they can, and when they win the ball back on transition, can they attack with pace? The ball there fizzed across the 6-yard box. Morris just couldn't get enough dynamic athleticism there to get on the end of it.
Cross comes in, and in the end it was Dunk who did ever so well under pressure from Adebayo to see it back towards Steele. That's why the Brighton fans are reporting. But that strong run by Cavore, excellent recruitment, Luton Town. They have had for a number of years. Mick Harford, of course, at the heart of it. A season-long loan from Manchester City. He's from Burkina Faso. He's a right back, but last year played for Marseille, Champions League experience. So they're getting a youngster who's still got a lot of pedigree, if you like. 4 appearances in the Champions League, and it was a strong, surging run. 0-0 it remains at the Amex. 10 minutes played. Sheffield United, Crystal Palace. Tom Gale.
Where it's also 0-0, Ian, but we've had the first attempt of the game for the Blades. Their 20-year-old Danish striker Will Osulu dinking on the right-hand side of the penalty area onto his left, curling effort inches wide. Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 0.
Now Barnsley last week was 7-0 winners against Port Vale. It was the biggest opening day win by a Football League side since 1962, and they're already leading again. At Bristol Rovers by a 0-0 in League One. Newport lead Doncaster 1-0 in League Two, and in the Scottish Premiership it's St Mirren 1, Dundee 0. Free kick to Brighton meanwhile, 11 minutes played. BBC Radio 5 Live. And Brighton and Hove Albion midway through the Luton Town half. Good 15 yards or so in from that left touchline. And it's going to be touch to Gross, who then plays the ball back to Estepinian, looking towards Matoma. Haven't really mentioned much of Matoma so far.
No, he had that one little flirt, didn't he, at the on the far post, where he managed to just wriggle half a yard and dink a ball to the far post for Dunk. But you know, he's been such a highlight, hasn't he? He's been a great signing for this football club at Brighton, especially home at the Amex. He scored some great goals on the travels as well. He'll be a player that they certainly look to in the European travels this season.
Yeah, they will. September the 1st is the draw for the Europa League group stages. It's a date I'm sure there's already been penciled in by many a Brighton fan as they look forward to their first travels as a supporter following their club, as the first time in their history they're in European competition. We'll nip to Bournemouth. Jonathan Overend.
It's Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0, but already a great example of what the new Bournemouth manager is trying to implement here with his high-pressing style. Solanke has dispossessed Aguirre on the edge of the box, and it's led to Brooks shooting left-footed, narrowly wide. Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0.
Goal at Rangers, Conor McLaughlin.
Rangers 1, Livingston 0. It's Sam Lammers who opened the scoring for the home side. Great link-up play with Todd Cantwell. The initial shot was saved. He tried again and pulled the trigger from just inside the box. Perfect start for Rangers. Rangers 1, Livingston 0.
It remains 0-0 here. Arsenal beat Nottingham Forest earlier by 2-1, but in the 3 o'clock kickoffs at Bournemouth, Everton, Sheffield United in this one yet to have a goal so far, as Dunk and Van Hecker pass the ball to each other patiently at the back. the only two Brighton players actually in the Brighton half, as now Matoma collects it, and his first touch is to try and take it past Kabore on that far side, but he's held up by the Luton Town defender. Now a cross comes in, Gross tries to get on the end of it, Welbeck's there as well, Lockyer tries to get it down and away, and Luton scramble the ball clear. And then Milner, no foul from Morris. The referee actually has played the advantage. Good refereeing from David Coote, letting the game flow.
We're just sitting behind De Zerbi here, and I mean, his step count within what we've got 13 minutes into the game is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, like, I'm sweating for him.
He's animated as ever. I talked before about that podcast with Mark Chapman and Howard Webb, and how there's going to be a robust approach, if you like, and how managers are going to have to contain their emotions. Particularly De Zerbi, 4 yellows and 2 reds last season. So every manager, well, in fact everybody's been communicated really from the new approach, but De Zerbi will have to heed those lessons, otherwise he'll face himself in hot water.
Well, that is more than a lot of players have played the game for sure, but you can see from Brighton, you know, he's asking them to be patient and, you know, don't force the play. You know, there's a lot of bodies behind the ball, especially when you've got Van Heck and Lewis Duncan literally on the halfway line. You know, they're trying to cut the lines and get in behind, but it has to be at the right time with the right accuracy and right pace.
João Pedro picks it up. Now he's being booed because of his Watford connections from the Luton Town supporters behind that goal. So many of them wearing the replica orange jerseys. As here is Milner midway through the Luton Town half. He's got March out to this right touchline. March now collects it, comes on the inside. Gross is also there as well. Milner has stayed forward. And now Gross just trotting in field. Little touch by De Hood. German international sweeps it across towards Dunk, who joins the attack. Now it's Estepinian who clips it in, and it's gathered out by the goalkeeper Thomas Kaminski, signed from Blackburn Rovers in the summer for Luton Town, as the ball then goes all the way back to Jason Steele. 15 minutes played. I think Rob Edwards would have taken that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they look very comfortable out of possession, you know, in their structure, in their zones, whether that's going from the back 3 turning into the back 4. The midfielders, I'm really impressed with Chong at the moment. He's getting around, snapping at the heels of the Brighton midfield, winning the ball, trying to play on the front foot and then get in the box. So there's plenty of energy within this Luton team. Can they do it and sustain it for 90 minutes?
Sutton United are down to 10 men as they are drawing 0-0 away at Barrow in League 2. Still goalless here at the Annex on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Dahoud back towards Dunk, little flick forward. Gross then gives it back towards Dunk, and Luton Town, still quite a high line, so it's very congested in that middle area of the half away towards our right, as now Dunk tries to open it up out towards March, but that was headed away well by Ryan Giles, another debutant signed from Wolverhampton Wanderers. He was on loan at Middlesbrough last season, as Milner plays the ball inside. March now on the edge of the area, he's tackled. It'll be a free kick. Before the free kick will go to Bournemouth. Jonathan Overend.
Still 0-0, but West Ham have hit the post. Neat interchange between Benrahma and Souček. Souček's left foot shot hit the upright. It rebounded. It almost fell to Antonio, but luckily for Bournemouth, back into the arms of Neto. 0-0.
Cheltenham 0, Bolton 1, Bradford City 0, Colchester United 1 is the latest score in League 2, and you're up to date on BBC Radio 5 Live. We're in the 17th minute, and at the minute you've got 4 Brighton players in conversation.
Dahoud picked up the ball first, then Solly March snatched it from him, then Lewis Dunk come over, and now it's left to Pascal Gross and Solly March.
Well, Gross will probably be fancying it. It's certainly within range. It's about 25 yards out from goal. It is right of centre. Brighton are playing from left to right as we look. Newport County have got a second goal at home to Doncaster Rovers. 2-0 in League 2. It's Gross. A few steps back. One then to the left. March still eyeing it up. But it's Gross who touches it towards March on his left foot, into the wall, into the penalty area. Lockyer struggles to get it away, only as far as Estepinian, plays it towards Matoma, looks to try and check in onto his right foot in the penalty area, back to Estepinian, fires it in, and cannons behind for a Brighton corner, and Luton are under pressure.
Luton under pressure, but 2 good blocks there from their midfielders and defenders, putting their bodies on the line. That's what it's all going to be about today. But can Brighton just find that half a yard? Can they find that quick spark to unlock it? Another corner for them, though.
Corner kick over on the far side, the left. Once again, it's 2 Brighton players who've got over. Dunk is forward from the back. Van Hecker is there as well. It's the Luton supporters behind that goal that are making the noise at the moment. As March once more walks away, Gross to take it. Arm goes aloft from Gross in towards the near post. Headed away though by Adebayo for Luton Town. Dahoud heads it back to the edge of the area. Comes back towards March on the left-hand side. Gross is there as well. He swings over the cross, and it was dropping rather awkwardly, but goes out of play for a goal kick. Another goal at Southampton, Paul Scott.
18 minutes on the clock. It is Southampton 1, Norwich 1. The equaliser for the home side coming from defender Jan Bednarak, lashing in from 6 yards after Angus Gunn parried a header into his path. Southampton 1, Norwich 1.
Hull KR are now leading Lee in the Challenge Cup 6-2. Commentary continues on Sports Extra, the iPlayer, BBC Sounds. It's live on BBC One. Still no goals in the Premier League and the 3 o'clock kickoffs, but Luton Town coming forward. They win the ball in the midfield from Ruddock. Releases Adebayo. Adebayo now looking towards Morris, controls it, looks to try get it off his right foot onto his left. Blocked though a sight of goal. Kabore is right corner of the area. He delivers the cross too deep and out of play for a goal kick, and it remains 0-0. Goal in our featured game in League Two. Shojo Saka last week. I think you were at Wrexham. You were at one of the other new boys this weekend, Meadow Lane.
Yeah, not going well for the promoted side either here. Notts County 0, Grimsby 1. Mistake in the county midfield. Solo run by Grimsby striker Danny Rose. He slotted home comfortably. His first goal since his summer move. Notts County 0, Grimsby Town 1.
Certainly didn't go well last week, did it? They got absolutely pummeled 5-1 at Sutton last week. Interesting that Luton Town keep attacking on this near side, the left, as Welbeck coming forward now. Was almost caught by Lockyer, gets the shot away, still right-footed, and it was a comfortable save by Kaminski.
What you say about Luton attacking down his left-hand side, that's what Brighton have done there, haven't they? You've seen a gaping hole. Welbeck get on the end of it. Didn't get his head up and couldn't see Pedro that was unmarked in the box, and Matoma on the far post decided to go alone, get a strike and goal. But yeah, you can definitely see from Luton when they attack, it's an area where they're looking for Milner when Brighton have possession and he steps inside that midfield area to try and overcrowd that midfield zone, that they are open to quick attacks.
Here is Dahoud. That's the voice of Steve Sidwell. You think as well, Steve, is that last season Luton Town, 15 of their 21 wins were achieved with having under 50% in terms of possession. So they will be well versed. I know the quality is a step up in terms of, you're now playing in the Premier League. You're up against one of the most attacking sides in the top flight in Brighton. But they'll be well used to not having the ball.
That's been their game plan, that's been their model, and they'll do that more so than ever this season. They're used to it, they'll be disciplined, and they'll say, right, you try and beat us, and if you don't, then we're going to get on the attack as quick as we can, and we have to be clinical.
And Giles hits it first time. There's been another goal at Southampton, Paul Scott.
What a quick turnaround. Southampton have just scored from the spot. It's Adam Armstrong making no mistake after Jan Bednarak levelled. Saints now 2-1 up.
BBC Radio 5 Live and the World Service. 21 minutes played. Bournemouth West Ham goalless. Everton Fulham 0-0. Likewise Sheffield United Crystal Palace, and still no goals here between Brighton and Hove Albion and Luton Town. Earlier Arsenal beat Nottingham Forest by 2-1. Coventry City 3, Middlesbrough 0 in the Championship. And in the Women's World Cup quarter-finals, it'll be Australia against England on Wednesday morning in the semis, after Australia, in a very tense penalty shootout in sudden death, knocked out France, and England came from behind. England beat Colombia by 2-1. So Sweden-Spain on Tuesday is the first semi. England-Colombia on Wednesday morning is the second semi. Both games will be live on BBC Radio 5 Live. Here we are at the South Coast, from Sydney to the South Coast, as march back to Van Hecker. Gross, De Zerbi. I think it's the first time he's stood still, isn't it?
It is, and a few of his players are standing still at the moment. They just need to keep that game mode of just passing the ball. Every pass changes the picture. Even if it's a 5-yard pass, it'll always change the picture on that football pitch. They can't get bored with just keeping the ball moving and trying to move this Luton team.
It's a humid afternoon as Luton Town are attacking once more on that far side. Kabore with the cross and trying to get on the end of it. Was making a run through the midfield was Pelly Ruddock. just threw himself at it, didn't he?
He did. I think the referee has blown possibly for a foul, and Milner, where there was a slight pull on the shoulder, but again, that Kabore down that right hand side, looking for quality in the box, which he has produced on a few times. And there was just Pele, wasn't it, just leaning, I think, on James Milner at the end, but full of energy, he threw himself into it, all for the cause.
West Bromwich Albion are leading Swansea City by 1-0 at the Hawthorns in the Championship. We'll go back to Bramall Lane. Tom Gale.
Sheffield United 0, Palace 0, but the visitors have had a goal disallowed here, and Joachim Andersen let fly from 30 yards. Foderingham flapped at it, palmed it straight to Ayew, headed it home. Correct call for offside. Sheffield United 0, Palace 0.
Roy Hodgson celebrated his 76th birthday on Wednesday. He's still going strong. Matoma couldn't get on the end of that forward ball over on that left-hand side, and it will be cleared away by Luton Town on that far side through Krabari. I'll tell you what, all the goals, they're just a little bit further down the south coast. Paul Scott.
A quite remarkable first 24 minutes here. It's Southampton 2, Norwich 2. When you were last with me, Adam Armstrong converted the penalty to put Saints 2-1 up. But a wonderful goal from Gabriel Sara, a left-footed shot from the edge of the area across the face of goal, rifling into the top corner, means it's Southampton 2, Norwich 2.
Swindon are leading Crewe by 1-0 at the county ground in League Two. You might recall their game at Colchester United last weekend was postponed. Rangers have got a second goal at home to Livingston. We'll bring you news of that in a moment with Connie. Wrexham, who of course were involved in an eventful match for their first season back in the Football League. MK Dons, they were beaten 5-3 at the racecourse last week, but they are leading Phil Parkinson's side at Wimbledon. Wimbledon 0, Wrexham 1, and Rotherham lead Blackburn by 1-0 in the Championship. And I'm actually hearing, Connie, that goal didn't stand at Ibrox.
It didn't. I was just about to tell you it was Rangers 2, Livingston 0. Jose Cifuento with his first goal. However, it's just been checked by the referee. VAR says no goal for a handball, so it's still Rangers 1, Livingston 0.
Thank you, Connie. And it's still 0-0 here. No goals. Bournemouth, Everton, Sheffield United in any of the other 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League. Estepina on the far side level the penalty area. Matome, João Pedro still being booed by the Luton supporters because of that Watford connection. £30 million, the club record buy for the 21-year-old Brazilian, as De Zerbi just standing on all in black, as now it's with Matoma. Matoma inside. Dahoud had to stretch for it to control the ball right-footed, and then it was a wayward finish from distance. We'll go back into the Championship. Another goal at Portman Road. Charlie Slater.
Listen to the noise of Portman Road. It should tell you that Ipswich have scored. Luke Wolfenden with the header from a free kick. Nothing the keeper could do about it. Ipswich lead against Stoke 1-0.
Know many people who do really fancy Ipswich Town, despite only coming back into the Championship from League One last season. You think that they finished last season unbeaten in 17 games. They won at Sunderland last weekend, and they're leading against Stoke, who themselves were handsome winners at home to Rotherham United on that opening weekend. Newport have got a third. Newport 3, Doncaster Rovers 0, and you are up to date with the goals as they go in on BBC Radio 5 Live. 26 minutes played, goalless. What have you made of it, Steve Sidwell?
Well, Brighton have huffed and puffed, haven't they? They've tried to get in and amongst this very disciplined Luton back line and midfield 3 that are just sitting there, keeping it tight, keeping it compact.
Matoma with the cross, easily headed away by Amari Bell. He was well set. Walsall 1, Stockport 0 is a latest score. Wigan 0, Northampton Town 1 is a latest in League One too.
There will be moments though for Luton when they get that quality. Can they find Adebayo or Morris? That will be 1v1 against Van Heck or Dunk.
Well, there was Dunk trying to get to Carlton Morris first, but he flicked the ball away out towards Adebayo, who holds on to it and plays the ball back. Our featured game in League One is at Leyton Orient. Sheridan Robbins.
Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 1. Marlon Pack from a corner. He didn't know too much about it. It trickled over the line, and on 24 minutes it's Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 1.
Leyton Orient back in League One after 8 seasons. They were a very entertaining side under Richie Wellens in League Two last year. Good defending again by Kabore, who was quickly back goal side to curb any threat from Matoma.
His athleticism is remarkable, isn't he? He's up and down the pitch, seeks and smells danger when needed.
March pops up in a central area, feeds it out towards Matoma. Matoma unmarked, checks onto his right foot, backheels the ball towards Pedro, down by the byline. He sends over a cross, that was blocked. It's going to rebound to Matoma. left corner of the area. Matoma now has a go at goal, punched away rather than caught by the keeper Kaminski for Luton Town. Still 0-0, but Brighton's pressure is building. Milner to March, edge of the area, couldn't control it, they win the ball back. Gross back towards Milner once again. Milner sends over a cross, that was headed away by Anderson, brought to the club from Barnsley, and now Chong, £4 million acquisition from Birmingham City, sets Luton Town away. And now it's with Pelly Ruddock running forward, and Ruddock enters the penalty area, looks for the shooting opportunity, closed down well by Van Hecke, behind for a corner.
And again, just down this left-hand side, but as what we said, James Milner was up on the edge of the box, trying to get a ball in with his right foot. Luton cleared the ball. Where do they attack? Down Brighton's right-hand side, their left. So it's definitely a motion that they've worked on throughout training this week.
Yeah, and almost brought them a little bit of joy, but it's as we approach the half hour, it's a corner kick, and Giles on this near side, Ryan Giles is going to take it, the left wing back. Luton Town in their bright orange shirts, it's an outswinger. Morris heads the ball up, Chong is also there, but March will try and release Matoma, but he hit it so far ahead of Matoma it actually went all the way through to Amari Bell back in the Luton Town half. Preston North End are leading Sunderland by a 0-0 at Deepdale in the Championship as we go back to Everton and Lee Blakeman.
Everton 0, Fulham 0. Couple of chances for Iwobi. One shot from the edge of the area went straight wide. The other one took a deflection on its way through. Fulham, after half an hour, yet to seriously threaten. Everton 0, Fulham 0.
The thing is about Brighton, they failed to score in only one of their last 28 Premier League games. They've scored in each of their last 16. And you would expect... I'd be... well... As the professional, but I was going to say I'd be surprised if Brighton didn't score today.
No, and that just goes, that's testament, that we're 29 minutes in and it's 0-0. What Luton have done.
Here is Matoma out to Pedro. Pedro enters the penalty area. The keeper has spilt it, but he manages to push it away a fraction, and then he's helped out by Bell, who clears it. But in fact, the flag was up on this near side, and it wouldn't have counted. It will be a free kick to Luton Town. So where will we go next on? It's back to Bramall Lane and Tom Gale.
Sheffield United 0, Palace 0, Ian, but the home side should be in front. Corner in front of the Kop. Free header for captain John Egan, but he couldn't keep it down. Sheffield United 0, Palace 0.
Gillingham have taken the lead at Priestfield. Gillingham 1, Accrington 0. That's the latest score in League Two. You talked earlier about the adversity of Brighton Hove Albion. I mean, this in many ways, they're the perfect opponents for Luton Town on their return to the top flight, when you think that Brighton faced near oblivion in the late 90s and indeed had to play a number of their home games at Priestfield for a time.
That's correct, yeah. I mean, it's been a fairy tale story for Brighton, hasn't it? And they've gone from strength to strength every season, especially more so in the Premier League, and now they've got these riches of the European football that they can hopefully enjoy, but they're finding it tough today.
Yeah. They were turbulent times following the sale of the Goldstone ground. Turn of the century, certainly a turn of fortunes, and that steady rise under Tony Bloom. And now Brighton and Hove Albion looking to try and match what they achieved last season, their highest ever finish in English football, as Luton Town, edge of the area, Chong tees up Ruddock, scoops the ball in. Kabore is always willing to get forward on that right-hand side, hooks it back in play, but it had in fact gone out of play, and it will be a goal kick. But last season, club records: most wins for Brighton 18, most goals 72, most points 62.
Well, they was the most feared team in the Premier League for me. Even Man City, when they was coming to here, although they had unreal quality, nobody wanted to play against Brighton. I spoke to a lot of players that played against Brighton last season, and they said it was as though they had 15, 16 players on the pitch, which just goes to show how well that they was playing and dismantling teams, wasn't they?
Yeah, they were. As they're looking to try and break the deadlock here at the Amex on this overcast afternoon, but it's warm. It is, as I say, humid on the south coast. Hull KR 6, it's also close at Wembley. Hull KR 6, Lee 8 is the latest score in the Challenge Cup final. Commentary continues on Sports Extra. Here is March, right hand side level of the area, back to James Milner. What a servant he has been, James Milner. And you think as well that he's actually equaling Ryan Giggs' record of playing in his 22nd different Premier League season, as the ball is scooped in by Estepinian. But I mean, brilliant. Debut in 2002 for Leeds United, and he is still going strong at the ripe old age of 37. Matoma, edge of the area, tees himself up, right-footed effort, volley off target, goal kick, 0-0.
Oh, what a great ball there from Pascal Gross, because Welbeck and Pedro made darting runs into the box, and he has whipped the ball purposely to miss them out to Matoma on the right hand side. Again, a first touch that probably popped up that he didn't mean to, but again he took advantage of that.
See your mates making the noise just away towards our left.
Yeah, there's it's some. I think I found my suit for Ascot next year.
Well, he's certainly snazzily dressed. He's got a blue and white hat with a seagull on the top. His suit is blue and white, but extremely outlandish. And then how would you describe the shirt?
I would say Hawaiian green that matches the shoes.
Has he got matching shoes?
It looks as though.
I'll tell you what. He now knows we're talking about him. Cheltenham 0, Bolton 2. I tell you what, I'd pay good money to see you in Royal Ascot dressed like that.
I don't think I'll get within half a mile and be dressed like that.
Luton Town are attacking. Chong's made a run out on the right hand side. 11 minutes to go to half time. Chong sends over the cross as well. Van Hecke gets it away. Fired back in by Nakamba. He's never scored in English football. That would have been a fine effort. It was blocked though by the Brighton defence, as we've got just over 10 minutes to go in this first half, and it remains 0-0. Sunderland have equalised at Preston. Jack Clark's got that equaliser for Tony Mowbray's side. Cambridge leading at Fleetwood. Fleetwood 0, Cambridge 1, and you're up to date with the goals as they go in on BBC Radio 5 Live. But still no goals in the Premier League.
Good bit of possession here, isn't it, for Luton? They can certainly feel they've got a bit of confidence in this game there. Controlling the game, putting Brighton on the back foot to get on the second balls. Brighton really need to regain a bit of composure.
Looking strong down that side. Kabori once again is forward. He delivers the cross. Awkward for Milner. Milner, incidentally, with his 620th appearance in the Premier League. So we say about he's equalling Ryan Giggs' record of 22 seasons in the Premier League. Giggs and Gareth Barry are the only two players ahead of James Milner when it comes to the all-time appearances in the Premier League. Here is Dahoud. Edge of the area, dark-haired German international to Matoma, finds March, and March with a header, twisting his body to break the deadlock. And 10 minutes before half-time, we said Brighton always find a way. They have been patient, and Solly March delivers the first goal for Brighton Hove Albion, 1-0.
Well, there was a lot of bodies in the box there, but it fell to Solly March. And the funny thing was, if you could see a replay of this, the ball was just hesitantly put into the box, and De Zerbi went absolutely nuts. He thought the chance had gone. He turned his back away, but Matoma managed to get the ball in there, and it was Solly March that somehow he was ahead of the ball and then the side head of it.
He actually did well, because he did have to twist the top of his body, didn't he?
It's just over the defender's head of Bell. It was a delightful ball. It's on the button, and you're thinking that Solly March has just gone a bit too early with his run, but he's had to sort of in the split second had to halt his run and then just arc his back and neck and get the ball on target.
And just when you felt that Luton were maybe growing in confidence at keeping Brighton at bay, then Brighton and Hove Albion get that first goal, leading by a goal to 0. Luton Town, though, have responded straight to the other end and have won themselves a corner kick on this near side that Giles is ready to take. But it's the Brighton fans now who are making the noise inside the Amex. Giles, outswinger, header comes back in, almost an opportunity for Morris. Really did throw himself at that. I'm not too sure who got the block.
What a chance this is. I think it was a great header from Morris. It's a save straight at Steele. I think if it goes anywhere left or right, it's fortunate that it goes straight towards Steele with power as well, by the way. Morris tries to get on the end of it, cleared away.
Another corner kick on the left hand side. Giles once again, repeat. Might fall to Nakamba on the edge of the area, and then just leaning back, it was a little bit off target from Kabore, and it goes out for a goal kick. So Brighton lead by 1-0. We'll go to Goodison. Lee Blakeman.
Everton 0, Fulham 0. Everton have had a goal disallowed. Keane put it in after Leno dropped a high ball, but Tarkowski was penalised for a foul on the keeper in the build-up. That just seconds after Mopé had a good chance saved. Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Cardiff City 0. Queen's Park Rangers 1. They've only won 3 of their 14 games under Gareth Ainsworth, but they are leading there in South Wales. Sutton United, despite being down to 10 men, are leading at Barrow in League 2. Barrow 0, Sutton United 1. As it's Cheltenham 0, Bolton 3. And Brighton are quickly on the attack. And here is Welbeck off the post and into the grateful arms of Kaminski. We'll go to Jonathan Overend at Bournemouth.
Still Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0. West Ham have gone close again though. A Paquetá header from Bowen's corner was off the line by Phillip. Change of name for the tall Bournemouth midfielder this season, but he was in the right place at the right time. Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0.
That is how you've got to be alert always with Brighton. It was such a swift counter-attack, straight up to Estepina. Cross comes in first time on the left, and on the stretch Welbeck hits the post.
It was their best passage of play there from Brighton. Real good link-up play, still with the ball into Matoma, set back by Pedro, set Estupiñán off, all one touch, and then it was a good quality ball into Welbeck that you thought he scuffed the chance, and then it's just kissed the post, and then luckily ricocheted back into Kaminski's arms.
Yep, he made 118 appearances in 3 years at Ewood Park. Hull City 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1 is a latest scoreline in the Championship. Both were beaten in their first games last weekend. 6 minutes to go to half-time. Still no goals. Bournemouth, West Ham, Everton, Fulham, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace. We've got commentary to come after Sports Report. Newcastle United, Aston Villa. That's at 5:30 with John Murray and Pat Nevin. And 2 more commentaries tomorrow as well on BBC Radio 5 Live. 5 Live's Premier League Sunday from midday. Brentford Spurs at 2, be followed by Chelsea Liverpool at Stamford Bridge. But 5 minutes to go to half-time as the Brighton fans sing "We're all going on a European tour." They're leading by 1-0. Matoma makes the run in behind. He's got around the back of Kabore towards Welbeck, couldn't sort his feet out, and Marvellous Nakamba with the interception gets it away for Luton Town. They're just starting to get a little bit of joy now, aren't they, down that far side?
They are, and again, good link-up play down the left-hand side. Poor touch from Danny Welbeck, which is not like him. I think if it had been a bit more controlled, it would definitely have set him up for a shot, but De Zerbi there going absolutely crazy again.
He is hopping with frustration. He momentarily sat onto the technical area. We're very, very close to the dugouts here at the Amex. We're sitting left of the new Tunnel Club at the Amex, as here is Gross to March. March tries to slide it into the path of Welbeck, squeezed out by the Luton defence. They win the ball back through Dahoud, pressing quite high up, free kick, and he's muttering and chuntering to himself once more.
I feel he can sense that this game at the moment is just opening up, it's just stretching a little bit, and Brighton, if they can take advantage, they can get another goal.
Carlton Morris sends over the cross, patted down by Steele in the Brighton goal. Another goal at Meadow Lane in League 2, Shojo Saka.
Notts County 1, Grimsby 1. John Bostock chesting it down in the box and a belting left-footed volley right into the net. Notts County 1, Grimsby 1.
Latest in the Challenge Cup in the Rugby League, it's now Hull KR 6, Lee 10. Commentary continues on Sports Extra, the iPlayer, BBC Sport website and BBC Sounds. We'll go back to Bournemouth, Jonathan Overend.
Still 0-0. One of the interesting early season selections is Areola starting the season in goal for West Ham ahead of Fabianski. Smart save from him a moment ago, down to his left to deny Brooks. Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, that wasn't very well effectively defended, and Matoma to Welbeck, shot blocked by Bell, comes out to Dahoud, shoots, blocked by Lockyer this time, still in and around the penalty area. Anderson heads it away, Milner rises, beaten in the air by Ruddock. Milner though gets it back once more. They are just showing signs of creaking now, that Luton Town defence, because of this pressure throughout from Brighton Hove Albion. Ross County leads St Johnstone by 1-0 in the Scottish Premiership as the cross swept in too deep from the left, but kept actually in play well by the goal scorer, Solly March. March now running against Giles. Giles gets a foot into the challenge, and it will be a corner kick to Brighton.
Really good pressure from Brighton, regaining possession, whether it's a long cross or knockdowns, get on the second balls. They can really sense a time frame where they can really extend their lead here, and if they could do that just before half time, it would really be a sucker punch to Luton.
Yes, it would. There'll be Rob Edwards with his hands on his hips, watching on in the technical area. The Luton Town manager. Corner kick is taken short. March to Gross, who trundles his way in now, and now turns away from Chong. Delivers a right-footed cross from the right, headed out by Anderson, only as far as Dahoud. Dahoud plays it to Matoma, left corner of the area. Matoma at a walking pace and accelerates. But Ruddock back there with the defending and marshals the ball safely out for a goal kick. And somebody must have spoken out of turn there, because it's been a yellow card.
Toma, I think a bit of frustration there. Booted the ball into the away fans behind the goal. Shown a yellow card there from David Coote.
So he was shown a yellow card. Howard Webb has been saying in that podcast with you can hear on the 5 Live Football Daily, this isn't going to peter out, this approach. It's not going to all of a sudden, first 2-3 weeks. He said it's here to stay, and the players will quickly have to adapt, learn, as Matoma's shown a yellow card. Giles with the cross blocked down by Milner. Under 90 seconds remaining of this first half here of Brighton Hove Albion 1, Luton Town 0, and then a little pushover. Gross takes a tumble, and that will be a free kick. Salford 0, Crawley 1 is the latest score in League 2, and we're going to have 1 minute of added on time as the free kick taken quickly. Steele releases it. Dahoud just outside his area, being put under pressure by Nakamba. The deep lying playmaker signed from Borussia Dortmund out towards Matoma. Matoma inside his own half. Now hit forward by Dahoud. March making a very good run out towards that left-hand side of the penalty area. Sends over the cross, caught by Kaminski. Underarm throw out to Giles.
Yeah, it was the first time that Dahoud was linking up the play like Caicedo does, and did so well for Brighton, especially last season, where they sort of take risks, they take gamble. On the edge of their box, we see him pick up the ball, Caicedo in his own penalty spot before, with someone marking him behind, and somehow skip away and then drag his team up the pitch, and we just see that from Dahoud. So a lot of eyes, a lot of speculation is going to be on Dahoud this first few games that he plays.
Let's nip back to Goodison Park. Lee Blakeman.
So many chances for Everton. It's still 0-0. Mopé's just been denied from point-blank range just seconds after Onana hit one straight at Leno from the edge of the area. Patterson's just put one over as well. Somehow still Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Bushy-haired figure of Chong delivers the ball out towards the Giles, the left wing back, sends over a cross, and Morris actually climbs very, very high. Carlton Morris, and just couldn't guide that header. It was the wrong side of the right-hand post. Out for a goal kick. Brighton still lead 1-0.
It was, but he had to generate so much power onto that ball. Giles been really impressive down this left-hand side. Real good quality, not just on his set pieces, but from open play as well. And you can see there, when he got the ball there, Morris just ran into the box. He's just sort of floated the ball in, which meant that Morris had to create all the power and energy onto that header, which was very hard to beat still from that distance. Producer
George is suggesting that at half-time you're going to nip to the Tunnel Club and do a coffee run.
I am a man of the people, I can do that. Exactly, because I've got the access code. Yes.
Well, there is the time to do that, because the half-time whistle has sounded after the additional 60 seconds. It's Brighton Hove Albion 1, Luton Town 0. The goal coming 9 minutes before half-time. Matoma's cross from the left, and Solly March with a header. And here are the thoughts of Steve Sidwell.
Well, I thought Luton were outstanding that first half, very disciplined, diligent. You can see they're very happy and comfortable to sit behind the ball and wait to attack on transition. Brighton had to be wary, wear down this Luton side, and eventually got a chance, and Solly March punished, and they go in 1-0 leaders.
And indeed it could have been worse had Welbeck's effort not hit the post 3 minutes after they did score. So 72 goals last season, and they've got the first of this new campaign as Brighton and Hove Albion lead the Premier League debutants Luton Town a 1-0 at half-time.
Straight into the Championship, where there's been a 5th goal of the first half at St Mary's. Paul Scott.
We are in first half stoppage time. It is Southampton 2, Norwich 3. Norwich retaking the lead through a Jonathan Rowe header. It was a corner from the right-hand side from Gabriel Sara. Rowe was unmarked from 12 yards across the face of goal, past the despairing dive of Gavin Bazunu. It is Southampton 2, Norwich 3.
That's Solly March goal for Brighton, the only goal we've had in the Premier League so far in the 3 o'clock kickoffs. It's half-time at the Vitality. Jonathan Overend.
Yes, West Ham have come the closest here. Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0 at the break. Thomas Souček hitting the post and somehow the rebound avoiding the following up Mikel Antonio and straight into the grateful arms of Neto. Paquetá and Bowen have also gone close, but the home side certainly have been in it. Plenty of possession, getting used to the high pressing style of their new manager. Christie straight at Areola and a smart stop from the French keeper late on to deny David Brooks. Half-time though goalless.
There's just been a goal in our feature game in League One between Leyton Orient and Portsmouth. Sheridan Robbins.
Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 2. Colby Bishop with a great finish into the top corner. They've had to do some defending, Portsmouth, in this first half, but approaching half-time, Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 2.
Back into the Premier League, half-time in Sheffield United's latest return to the top flight. They're at home to Crystal Palace. Tom Gale.
0-0, Steve. You can question their Premier League pedigree, but plenty of fight from the home side, snapping into tackles and working hard to win the ball back. They should be ahead, but captain John Egan headed over from 6 yards out. Palace's best moments saw a shot from range, flapped at and saved, but Ayew's headed goal follow-up was disallowed for offside. Half-time, Sheffield United 0, Palace 0.
And nothing doing either at Goodison, Lee Blakeman.
Everton 0, Fulham 0, Steve, but blimey, it has been all Everton. Mopé at the start of the half, inside 30 seconds, had a shot go just wide of the bottom corner. He had one save from point-blank range inside the 6 yards area by Leno at the end of the half. Michael Keane had a goal disallowed following a foul by Tarkowski on Leno in the build-up. They've created so much. Iwobi has been just brilliant wide on the left. Fulham have created nothing at all on a day where they have Mitrovic starting on the bench. Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Reminder, Arsenal beat Nottingham Forest 2-1 in the early kick-off. It's Newcastle Aston Villa live in full here on 5 Live at 5:30. Into the Championship, half-time at Vicarage Road. Flo Pollock.
Watford 0, Plymouth 0. Watford attacking well. Imran Louza hitting the post with a long-range effort, but the Hornets look suspect defensively. There's clearly an instruction to play out from the back, but they're struggling to execute that style of play on a few occasions. Watford goalkeeper Backman has got lucky with giving the ball away. At the break, it's Watford 0, Plymouth 0 though.
Great start for Ipswich on their home return to the Championship. Charlie Slater.
It is Ipswich 1, Stoke 0. Local boy Luke Wolfenden with the goal after 24 minutes. A header from 6 yards from Sam Morsey's free kick. George Hurst almost made it 2 right at the end of the half, but flicked the post instead. Ipswich well worth their lead and well worth the wait for that return of Championship football at Portman Road. Ipswich 1, Stoke 0.
Half-time at St Andrews, Birmingham versus Leeds. John Bennett.
Yes, Birmingham City 0, Leeds United 0. End-to-end, but very few clear-cut chances in an even game for Leeds. Ethan Ampadu shot over when he had time and space for Birmingham. Kevin Long headed just wide. An emotional scene, Steve, just before kick-off as the club paid tribute to Trevor Francis. Birmingham 0, Leeds 0.
Thank you, John. Reminder, it finished Coventry City 3, Middlesbrough 0 in the early kick-off in the Championship. Other scores for you then in the Championship. Half-time, Birmingham 0, Leeds 0. We've just been telling you. Cardiff 0, QPR 1. Hull 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Millwall 0, Bristol City 0. Preston 1, Sunderland 1. Rotherham United 1, Blackburn Rovers 0. West Bromwich Albion 1, Swansea 0. Still playing in the first half at St Mary's. Paul Scott.
Yeah, it's still Southampton 2, Norwich 3. We're into the 51st minute of this first half. It was a quite remarkable opening 25 minutes. Norwich taking the lead through Josh Sargent. Saints going ahead through Jan Bednarak and an Adam Armstrong penalty. Gabriel Sara levelled with a wonderful shot from the edge of the area, and then on the stroke of half-time, Jonathan Rowe's header put Norwich 3-2 up. We're still playing here at St Mary's.
So that is the Championship half-times wrapped up in League One. Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 2. Still playing, Sheridan Robbins?
They still are playing. Won't be long before the half-time whistle, but it has been all Portsmouth in terms of chances created. Orient forgetting their shooting boots. It's Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 2.
Bolton Wanderers haven't had that problem. Dion Charles has scored 2, and in total they've got 3 at Cheltenham in the first half. So Cheltenham 0, Bolton 3. Bristol Rovers 0, Barnsley 1. Burton versus Derby just channels memories of the Clough family, doesn't it? Burton Burton 0, Derby 1 is the half-time score there. Exeter 0, Blackpool 0, Lincoln 0, Wickham 0. No goals between Oxford United and Carlisle so far. Peterborough United lead Charlton by a goal to 0. It's Port Vale 0, Reading 0, Stevenage 0, Shrewsbury 0. And the half-time whistle has just gone. It's Wigan 0, Northampton 1. Sam Hoskins, 22 goals last season, and that is his first of the new season. Let's go into League 2. Sutton down to 10 men, but leading at Barrow by a goal to 0 at the break. It's Bradford City 1, Colchester United 1. Gillingham lead Accrington by a goal to 0. No goals at Harrogate as they are currently 0-0 with Forest Green Rovers. Mansfield 1, Morecambe 0. MK Dons, following their relegation, are leading Tranmere by a goal to 0. Newport have 3 in the first half. Newport 3, Doncaster Rovers 0. It's Salford 0, Crawley 1, Swindon 1, Crewe 0. Walsall leads Stockport County by a goal to 0. Promoted Wrexham lost on the opening day, but they're 1-0 up at Wimbledon at half-time. Elliot Lee, son of the former Newcastle midfielder Rob, with the goal there. Their fellow promoted team, Notts County, are facing Grimsby in our feature game in League 2. Shojo Saka.
It is Notts County 1, Grimsby 1. We have had stoppage time. In stoppage time, there's Danny Rose, who puts it. No, it's not. It is Harry Clifton, who's just put Grimsby Town ahead with seconds to go till half-time. So it's Notts County 1, Grimsby Town 2. Just a few moments ago, we had Jake Eastwood make 2 saves in the Grimsby goal, but it is Harry Clifton who has put Grimsby Town ahead. It is Notts County 1, Grimsby Town 2.
Into Scotland, Rangers versus Livingston at Ibrox. Connie McLaughlin.
At half-time, it's Rangers 1, Livingston 0. A first Rangers goal for Sam Lammers and a big slice of relief for the Dutchman following Wednesday's miss against Servette. I think that's fair to say. Todd Cantwell was instrumental getting beyond the forward to face a force of save from Shamil George, and Lammers was on hand then to smack home the rebound. Jose Cifuentes, the new signing, thought he'd made it 2, but VAR said no. Half-time, Rangers 1, Livingston 0.
Other half-times for you. Ross County lead St Johnstone by a goal to 0. It's St Mirren 2, Dundee FC 0. So St Mirren on course for 2 wins from 2 at the start of the new season. Let's go into the Scottish Championship. It's Airdrieonians 0, Partick Thistle 1. Ayr United lead Inverness by a goal to 0. It's Dundee United 0, Dunfermline 0. Queen's Park 1, Arbroath 0. And Wraith Rovers 2, Morton 1. Scottish League 1, Alloa 0, Stirling 0. Annan 0, Montrose 3 at the break. Cove Rangers 0, Falkirk 0. Edinburgh City lead Queen of the South by a goal to 0, and it's Kelty Hearts 0, Hamilton 0. Scottish League 2, Bonnyrigg Rose are 1-0 up at Clyde at the break. It's Dumbarton 0, Spartans 0, and it's 0-0 in the games between Forfar Athletic and Elgin City, Peterhead and Stenhousemuir, and Stranraer and East Fife, although Stranraer are down to 10 men after 45 minutes. In the National League, Chesterfield 3-0 up at AFC Fylde at half-time. Borehamwood 0, Halifax 0. Southend have taken the lead, so they're 1-0 up at Dagenham and Redbridge. It's 0-0 in the games between Dorking and Maidenhead, Eastleigh and Wealdstone. Ebbsfleet 0, Solihull Moors 1 is a half-time score. Hartlepool United lead Gateshead by a goal to 0. They were relegated, Hartlepool, of course, at the end of last season. So too were Rochdale. They are currently 0-0 at Oxford City at half-time. Oldham Athletic 3, Aldershot 0 is a half-time score, as is York City 0, Kidderminster 0, and it is Woking 2, Altrincham 2 at the break. Those are all of the half-time scores. You are up to date right the way around England and Scotland. We've got second half commentary on the way from Brighton, who lead Luton by a goal to 0 after the news on 5 Live with Stuart Clarkson. Right, they're back out at Brighton, ready for the second half. It's our first commentary of this new Premier League season. Don't forget, we've got Newcastle versus Aston Villa to come, but it's only half-time in Brighton versus Luton, and Steve Sidwell is with Ian Dennis.
Thank you, Steve. Neither side has made a change at half-time as they're just ready to restart. Gives us an opportunity to run through the two teams. Steele in goal for Brighton and Hove Albion. Back four of Milner, Dunk, Van Hecke and Estepinian. A midfield of Gross, Dahoud, March with Pedro Welbeck and Matoma. Brighton in their blue and white striped shirts and royal blue shorts against the Luton Town side in their orange jerseys with the navy shorts, and they are playing from left to right. They've got Kaminski in goal, a back three of Bell, Anderson and Lockyer. Kabore and Giles are the wing backs, right and left respectively. Marvellous Nakamba, Ruddock, Chong, Adebayo and Carlton Morris. And the thing is, Steve Sidwell, is that Rob Edwards, they're still in the game, they're only a goal down, and they have created, oh hold on, here is Welbeck picking up a loose ball inside towards Gross. Gross plays it forward back towards Welbeck, excellent cover from Anderson to run the ball behind for a corner, but they've had chances, have Luton.
Yep, they have. They've got to be disciplined, diligent, like we've mentioned all throughout this first half, but like what you said, throughout the last season, they're used to this. This is their model, their style of play. So it's no surprise that they're carrying it off to a T this afternoon.
Brighton then, with that March goal, the difference. After 36 minutes, wait to take the corner kick, far side the right. It's an outswinger. Carlton Morris really did attack that well. His only experience of playing top-flight football in his career was actually with Hamilton a number of years ago. It was about 15-16, and he scored 8 goals in his 32 appearances as the ball drops and it's picked up by Kaminski on his Luton Town debut from Van Hecker. And they wait, and they have to be patient. But Roberto De Zerbi will want a second goal just so he can relax a little bit.
He will, and that's what I'm sure Rob Edwards has said is, let's not give them a sniff. Although Brighton have come out and had an attack in the first 25 seconds, but they're going to try and get this early goal in the second half, calm the pitch down, to calm the game. That brings Luton out onto them then and expose more spaces.
Not too sure if it's a temporary switch, but at the minute Milner's playing on this near side and Estepinian has switched to the far side, the right.
Yep,
the fullbacks have swapped.
They've obviously seen something there in the analysis at half-time to show De Zerbi.
João Pedro picks it up, runs forward with pace. João Pedro, he was closed down very, very quickly. It was an important block that was coming in from... I think it might have been, was it Pelly Ruddock who was back there? It was a very good, strong challenge, but he's picked up an injury in the process.
Yeah, I think it was good play from Pedro when he gets his side, but you have to take that snapshot really quickly, because the more you go inside, the more you're going to get dragged into the recovering players from Luton as well. So you can see there, Luton Town, the amount of players that they've got all near each other as well, within 5 yards, so in case one player skips past one another, someone's there on hand to help out his teammate.
So whilst he's getting treatment at the moment, Harrogate 0, Forest Green 1 is a latest score in League 2. And despite it only being 2 minutes or 3 minutes into the second half, Rob Edwards already is still getting across a lot more of his instructions to the players to take advantage of this stoppage in play. And with a stoppage in play, we'll take advantage and go to Everton and Lee Blakeman.
Everton 0, Fulham 0, 2 minutes gone in the second half. Fulham making a change at half-time, though. Willian, who had been booked, has been replaced by Bobby De Cordova-Reid. Everton 0, Fulham 0.
And to Bournemouth, Jonathan Overend.
Sweet strike on the volley from David Brooks here, still 0-0, but he caught it beautifully on the edge of the box, and Areola had to be very, very alert to that, tipping it over the bar left-handed. Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0, but bright start in the second half from the home side.
And we are going to resume. Now, Pelly Ruddock, because he's off the field of play, he'll have to wait at least 30 seconds before the referee will allow him to come back onto the field. So 4 minutes into the second half, so Luton temporarily are down to 10 men.
You can see the fourth official there, literally man marking him with his watch, looking at it. There we go,
and there he is, comes back on. He's 29 years of age. He's been such an excellent service for Luton Town, picked up on a free 9 years ago, over 350 appearances for the club, and as we said earlier, the first player to play in the fifth tier all the way to the Premier League with the same club. Whilst you're at the Tunnel Club at half-time, the two former captains of both clubs are out here at talking to the crowd. Steve Foster and Brian Horton got a lovely ovation from the Luton Town supporters, both gentlemen. Fozzie and Nobby, as they were introduced at one point. And I know that David Pleat, who managed Luton Town the last time they were in the top flight, is listening to BBC Radio 5 Live this afternoon, finding out how his former club are faring. When they were last in the top flight, David told me during the week that, in fact, I'll wait for that, because there's been a goal at Bournemouth. Jonathan Overend.
West Ham take the lead here on the Riviera. Bournemouth 0, West Ham 1, and it's Jared Bowen, who finished last season so strongly, who starts this one magnificently. It's a left foot curler past Neto into the corner. Bournemouth 0, West Ham 1.
Now here's João Pedro has been checked outside the area. Anderson has been shown a yellow card for Luton Town, and Brighton have got a free kick. But before the free kick, a goal at Bramall Lane. Tom Gale.
The visitors are ahead. Ian, Sheffield United 0, Palace 1. Jordan Ayew's nice sidestep gets to the byline, ball across into that corridor of uncertainty. In sliding is Odson Edward for a tap in. Sheffield United 0, Palace 1.
This is a troubling time for Luton Town. They've got to defend this free kick. Brighton, who are playing from right to left as we look, on the left-hand side, about 6 yards up from the byline. March and Gross are the two who stand over it. It's an extremely congested 6-yard box, isn't it, for the goalkeeper?
I was going to say, what's more congested, that 6-yard box or this press box? I don't know.
Well, I thought you were going to say the M25. I know there was a few traffic problems for supporters to get to the Amex today, as it's certainly a lot of bodies, and Kaminski with his arms up in the air, bobbing up and down on his goal line, as it's March who touches it towards Gross. Gross fires it in, and Kaminski does well at his near post, kept alive by Dunk. Bit of a scramble inside the penalty area, and in fact the referee will give a free kick because there was a hand in there, and but a very good save from Kaminski, bearing in mind we're talking about how unsighted he was.
Yeah, a really clever play there. Solly March just tapping it to Pascal Gross, who whips it towards that post. I don't think Kaminski got a touch. It looked like he hit the post, and from the sound of it as well, it ricocheted out. But again, Luton just running their luck there. Could have fell for any number of players in that 6-yard box, and it fell to Luton player.
His former club Blackburn are now 2-0 down at Rotherham in the Championship, and in League 2 Swindon Town have increased their lead at home to Crewe. Swindon Town 2, Crewe 0. So yeah, so David Pleat's attention to detail is remarkable. So we were talking in the week, and he was telling me, and he knew straight away when I said, about that season. He said, yeah. He said, Notts County 1-2-1, Matthews got both the goals. And then he said, you know what was amazing that season? He said, during that season, there was on 11 occasions they'd taken the lead, they didn't win one. Anyway, I checked it. They 6 draws and 5 defeats after in games where they'd taken the lead. I mean, there were other games where they did win and take the lead. There were 16 in total where they scored the first goal, but he knew straight away that on 11 occasions, Luton Town, if they're to survive, if they're given the lead in these occasions, are going to have to then try and hold on to them, aren't they?
Well, David Pleat, a proper footballing man there, isn't he? And they're the ones that know, doesn't matter how well they do, there's always the little slight 1% that sometimes go against them that they always focus on.
Could have been such a different story, and who knows, they could have been in the first season in the Premier League. There were fine margins that season in 31 years ago, and here they are, Luton Town. When you think that 10 years ago they began the season in the Conference, they spent 4 seasons then in League 2, League 1, then 4 in the Championship. Rob Edwards, of course, there was a moment before kick-off where he just looked at the Luton support, and there was a glowing look on his face of pride, and I'm sure that is replicated as well with Nathan Jones, who has had an instrumental part in the rise of Luton Town up through the divisions. Nathan Jones, who was with us earlier in Arsenal beating Nottingham Forest by 2-1 in the early game. We've got commentary to come of Newcastle against Aston Villa on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. West Brom 2, Swansea 0 is a latest score. The latest from Bournemouth, Jonathan Oberon.
Good response to Bournemouth from going a goal down. Solanke fended off Aguirre. He was just too strong on the inside right channel and forced a really good save from Areola at his near post. It's Bournemouth 0, West Ham 1.
March was just shown offside, and he's still complaining to the assistant referee on that far side. I think the officials are quite happy for the emotion of the game. It's when they step beyond that.
Yeah, he thought he was timed his run perfectly, but it was right next to the assistant referee that the flag was straight up. But just touching back what you said there, Deno, about Rob Edwards and Nathan Jones, and it feels like there's a real connection, isn't there, between the players, the staff, the fans. There's a real community there. They're going to need that more than ever this season.
Well, they're still in this game. They're only a goal down, and they're not afraid to come forward, but it's been cleared away by Dahoud. Laid back by Welbeck. João Pedro stopped by Anderson, steps forward. Got a real presence about him as the defender, the Danish defender. He's 6'5", fair-haired. Morris, Chong, touched the ball forward to Kabore now into Morris. The return ball. They're appealing for handball there against Estupinian, who actually now is playing back in his position. So that switch of fullbacks didn't last too long between Milner and Estupinian. Brighton send March away, scampering after it. And now there's ironic cheers of handball from the Brighton supporters, mocking Luton's appeals.
Yeah, it did look like it struck the hand of Estupinian, but not sure if there's going to be a review on that or not. Unintentionally, of course.
Steve Sidwell, who's with us here in this cramped commentary position at the Amex. Adebayo takes it on the side of Anderson. On the side of Van Hecker, rather. Van Hecker actually sees it behind, and the Luton supporters urging their team on. Raucous backing behind that goal away towards our right. They've got a corner kick.
Well, that is the 1v1 and 2v2 situations that I was talking about in terms of Adebayo and Morris just pinning Van Heck and dunk back. If one skips through, they're in on goal there. He's relieved the corner there for Luton Town.
So in front of that away support, you know where the away fans are housed. They're away towards our right-hand side here at the Amex. They're craning their necks, so many of them in the orange jerseys for this corner kick, taken by Giles. It's deep from the right. Dunk heads it and actually then retrieves it himself as he chases after it and then plays the ball forward towards Gross. And now Luton's shirts are flooding back because Gross will try a long sweeping diagonal ball towards Matoma, but two bounces and it's out of play for a throw. It's tight in the men's Challenge Cup final, the latest at Wembley's Hull KR 10, Lee 10. Commentary continues on Sports Extra, the iPlayer. It's live also on BBC One. Newport County have got a fourth goal. Newport 4, Doncaster Rovers 0 in League 2. Don't forget, next week, both of the Women's World Cup semi-finals live on 5 Live. It'll be Sweden-Spain on Tuesday morning, and then the small matter of Australia against England on Wednesday morning. Both games live on 5 Live. Another goal in League 1, our featured game. It's at Brisbane Road. Sheridan Robbins.
6 minutes into the second half, it's Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 3. A great cross in from Gavin White, headed into his own net by captain Omar Beckles. It's Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 3.
Commentary to come from St James's Park. 2 commentaries tomorrow. 5 Live Premier League Sunday. Brentford Spurs from 2, Chelsea Liverpool at 4:30. We've got 5 Live boxing tonight, and Anthony Joshua from 10 o'clock. The Anthony Joshua fight on 5 Live from 10 this evening. Goodison Park, Everton Fulham, Lee Blakeman.
Everton 0, Fulham 0. Fulham have had their best chance just inside the area. Jimenez has just hit the foot of the post, and Fulham's motto, if in doubt, bring Mitrovic out. On he comes, Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Matoma, Estupinian combining. Now Matoma goes down, and that'll be a yellow card for Issa Kabore, the Burkina Faso defender, for a foul on Matoma.
That triangle there of Matoma, Estupiñán and Pedro, they really link up well, really fluid. You know, you can see them getting in behind there, and Kabore there bringing that, again, not intentional. I think it was just a collision of legs.
Just gone 4:15 this Saturday afternoon, live on 5 Live and the World Service. There is a delay for the free kick. There's a goal at Notts County. Shoji Osaka.
Notts County 2, Grimsby Town 2. Jody Jones taking a shot from the left wing, taking a slight defection and looping over the Grimsby keeper Jake Eastwood. Notts County 2, Grimsby 2.
The attendance is 31,672 here at the Amex, as these two sides, indeed it's only the second season that they've met in the top flight, as March and Gross wait to take the free kick. Gross, right-footed, curls it in. Carlton Morris lets that ball bounce, and then he sliced the clearance off his left foot, trying to get the ball away. Drops on the edge of the area, headed further away by Adebayo. Out of play it will go for a Brighton throw. The 64th meeting in total. The previous ones, over half, were in the old 3rd Division South. But here they are, Luton Town, in their 17th season in the top flight, but the first after an absence of 31 years. None of the last 4 Premier League debutants, Bournemouth, Huddersfield, Brighton and Brentford, have been relegated. Last team making their debut in the Premier League to get relegated were Cardiff 10 years ago. Now, the referee's just been called across on the far side. He's having a word with Pelly Ruddock and Lockyer.
It was a thumping tackle from Pelly Ruddock on James Milner. The robust midfielder right back just got on with it, didn't say anything. It was a fine tackle, really. I just want to see in the replay now. It was ball first, then player. And James Milner, as he is, got straight back up and near enough congratulated him as well.
So it'll be a free kick to Brighton midway through the Luton Town half. Been playing for just over an hour, 61 minutes here on BBC Radio 5 Live. There's some dark skies, despite the sun shining. There's some dark skies hovering over the Amex. Brighton with March, the goal scorer, still leading 1-0. He sends over a cross and it drops, bounces and away and out for a goal kick.
You have to say, after an hour's play, Rob Edwards will be absolutely delighted with this Luton Town team, because they've near enough nullified them to just a handful of chances to one of the most creative teams in the Premier League last season. So hats off to how well they trained, and this, especially throughout pre-season, but this week especially for the build-up to this first game.
We're not playing next weekend because Kenilworth Road's not ready, so the match against Burnley has been postponed. So the next in action again on their travels at Chelsea on the Friday night, the 25th. The first home game, that most all-important game at Kenilworth Road against West Ham United on September the 1st. That will be an occasion for all Luton Town supporters to cherish and to say, I was there. Another goal at Southampton in the Championship. Paul Scott.
56 minutes on the clock. It is Southampton 3, Norwich 3. It's the substitute Che Adams with a lovely finish from the edge of the area, across the face of goal and into the bottom corner. We are all square at St Mary's. Saints 3, Norwich 3.
Not so many goals in the Premier League, but Brighton are threatening now. This is Welbeck. He plays it in towards Gross. He tees up Solly March. March looking for the shooting opportunity. Beaten out by the goalkeeper, Kaminski. Welbeck goes down. Referee says no penalty. David Coote had a really good view of that. Roberto De Zerbi is pleading with the fourth official. Of course, VAR will have a look at it.
I mean, the question is, you're looking at Danny Welbeck and saying, surely he's not going to go down without being touched. There was a lot of bodies there. I know David Coote was a good 5-6 yards away. He's just waiting there, so looking at the replay, there was contact, but not intentional at all, and that was the right call, a very good call in fact.
So Luton now are going to make a double change, and we're going to see one of their new players that they've brought in, Jacob Brown. He only arrived this week from Stoke City. In fact, he was on the score sheet for Stoke against Rotherham last week. So Brown is going to come on, and then the other change is going to be Alfie Doherty, who is another former Stoke City player. Let's get an update from Jonathan Overend at Bournemouth.
Bournemouth hit the bar. They trail West Ham 1-0, but they're getting closer to the home side. This time Joe Rothwell cutting in from the left. He took his time, he was patient, he waited for the right opportunity, curled it right-footed, but hit the bar with Areola beaten. Bournemouth 0, West Ham 1 it remains.
So it was Kabore, the right wing-back, who's gone off. Adebayo has also gone off. He's been replaced by Jacob Brown. So Alfie Doherty comes on to replace him. Two changes being made by Rob Edwards as they still trail by a goal to nil. Not many other goals, as we were saying, around in the Premier League so far. Arsenal earlier did beat Forest by 2-1. Bournemouth trailing there, as we just heard from Jonathan. Everton Fulham remains 0-0. Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1. We've got commentary at 5:30. Newcastle United against Villa. Let's get an update from Portman Road. Charlie Slater. Oh, hold on, before we do, here is Luton with attack up towards Morris, goes down under the challenge at the far post behind for a corner. Almost a chance there for Luton Town. They get a corner, we'll nip to Charlie.
61 on the clock, Ipswich on the attack here. Ipswich 1, Stoke 0. Great game that we've got on here. That's going to be a corner to Ipswich. Noah goal kick. Surely more goals in this, but 1-0 to Ipswich against Stoke.
Well, straight away there's going to be a little bit. Alfie Doherty has just got a bang on the back of the head, so there's just been a stoppage in play before that corner kick. Preston 2, Sunderland 1, Fleetwood 0, Cambridge 2, Mansfield 2, Morecambe 0, Swindon 2, Crewe 1. The goals as they go in on BBC Radio 5 Live. Luton Town in front of their expectant travelling support, still only trailing by a goal to nil. Giles, corner kick, left hand side. Welbeck climbs, heads it behind for another corner. Luton are giving it a go.
They are, they're in this game the whole way until it's 1-0. They are in this game there. You can see Giles there telling his players, look, commit your run. I can put the ball on the button. You make sure you get there.
Giles once again. Come on, Luton is the chant. Corner kick, left-hand side. Morris was in there. Slice clearance by March inside his own penalty area. Headed back. Lockyer with a volley left-footed. But I think the referee's whistle had blown anyway. We'll get an update from Bramall Lane. Tom Gale.
Sheffield United 0, Palace 1. I'm sure this might make match of the day. Roy Hodgson, 76 years of age, squaring up against Sheffield United's Max Lowe. The Sheffield United man pushed him in the stomach trying to retrieve the ball back. He wasn't happy. Sheffield United 0, Palace 1.
Did the referees take any action though, Tom?
So, we did. I'm sure you're aware of that briefing about the behaviour in technical areas.
Preston 2, Sunderland 1, Hull 2, Sheffield Wednesday 1 now is a latest scoreline. We're approaching the midway point of the second half here at the Amex. This still isn't over.
It still isn't over, and you just feel that away support now behind that Brighton goal, urging that team towards it, sucking that ball into the net, and if it does go in there, it is going to erupt.
Estupiñán gets it back from Pedro. Now Dahoud slips it through, short forward ball along the ground. João Pedro, Grosswood comes central, Nakamba gets it away, Brighton win it back, now it's with Matoma, Estupiñán on the overlap, here is Estupiñán, lifts it into the air in the penalty area, Lockyer with a downward header for Luton, picked up now by Brown, gets a second chance to get it up towards Carlton Morris, Van Hecke has tight behind him, Ruddock looking to turn in that midfield for Luton, picks out Chong as well, now here is Doherty, just outside the centre circle of his own half. Giles forward over on that far side, committing shirts forward. Luton Town looking for an equaliser. It's a good cross and Van Hecke rises, comes off the Dutch defender, and it's a Luton throw about 6 yards up from the corner flag on the right hand side. Those Luton Town fans believe.
They are indeed, they are enjoying this. Good play from Luton Town there, nice and relaxed, not just getting the ball forward as quickly as possible, taking their time, composure, waiting for an opening, using every bit of blade of grass, trying to move these Brighton players now themselves.
We'll try and bring you as much reaction as we can in Sports Report, the results and the reaction, before we have commentary from St James's Park at 5:30. But Brighton and Hove Albion still only leading by a goal to nil. Goals aplenty meanwhile at St Mary's. Paul Scott.
We thought we had a seventh. Norwich thought they were 4-3 up, but Ashley Barnes' tap in from close range disallowed for offside. It remains Southampton 3, Norwich 3.
Queen's Park Rangers have got a second at Cardiff City. Cardiff 0, QPR 2 is a latest score in the Championship. An update now from Goodison Park, Lee Blakeman.
Everton 0, Fulham 0. Great chance for Everton. Iwobi shot, edge of the area. Great save, Leno. Full stretch away to his left. Patterson on the follow-up, 6 yards out. Hit the crossbar, 0-0.
Matoma, good footwork. João Pedro goes down far too easily. Oh no, the referee's given the penalty. João Pedro, Luton protest. I think it was Lockyer, the defender. I've got to say, that's a soft penalty.
It really was. It seemed as though David Boot took his time to the whistle. It was great play from Mitoma. The ball was stuck to his feet the way he just jinked, and Pedro just touched the ball away from Lockyer, who just eases his way into Pedro, and I think it's a soft foul for me. I think this needs to be looked at again. It's not as if he's in control of the ball, Pedro, as he goes away. The touch is quite heavy. You see there, lip reading there, Lockyer, very, very soft referee.
There is an arm from the Luton defender, but João Pedro, once that contact was initiated, took full advantage and dropped to his knees.
He was near enough on his way down, was he? Waiting for that contact. That's very, very soft for me.
Well, the VAR's had a look at it, deemed that it's not a clear and obvious error, and this will rub salt into the wounds of Luton Town. The former Watford player João Pedro on penalty duties. He's taken over that from Pascal Gross. João Pedro waits for this penalty kick. The former Watford man runs forward now and scores. Brighton's club record signing. He scored all 3 penalties for Watford, and he's off the mark, off the spot for Brighton Hove Albion, who lead against the Premier League debutants by 2-0. And there's been a goal at Meadow Lane. Shojo Saka.
Notts County are ahead 3-2 against Grimsby Town. A delicious cross from the left by Jody Jones and a diving header from Dan Crowley into the net. Notts County 3, Grimsby 2.
That'll be a talking point on Match of the Day, though, later on BBC One for sure.
Well, the Luton Town bench are absolutely furious there. They're looking at it, and as soon as the referee gave the decision, they was off charging in onto the sideline. Just look at the replays again, and it is soft. It is. He does go down a bit easy, but the decision is given. And Pedro got up, showed his composure, grabbed the ball, waited for the referee to blow his whistle. And Kaminski, I think he got a hand to it as well. He was unlucky not to save it, but he's off the mark.
Can't help but feel that that's a little harsh on Luton Town, who had been doing their utmost to get back onto to level terms. And João Pedro, and that's the reason why he's in many people's fantasy football teams, because he's on penalty duties now for Brighton and Hove Albion. And of course, the Fantasy Football podcast on BBC Radio 5 Live with Alistair Bruce Ball and Chris Sutton is available as it is through the 5 Live Football daily feed. Now all of a sudden we're going to have a triple change for Brighton and Hove Albion. They're going to be making a number of changes very, very soon. We're in the second half. You're listening to BBC Radio 5 Live at nearly 4:30 on this Saturday afternoon and the World Service. And where are we going to go next on the Premier League? I think we're going to go to Jonathan Overend. Are we at Bournemouth?
Always a pleasure, unexpected, but always a pleasure. Bournemouth 0, West Ham 1. That goal from Jared Bowen. Must give a shout to Pablo Fornals for the role he played in the build-up to that goal, dispossessing Rothwell in midfield. Bowen's goal was beautiful. And can West Ham hold on to this lead? 1-0 at Bournemouth.
And I should have gone to Tom Gale at Bramall Lane.
Sheffield United 0, Palace 1. Ian, the visitors, with another disallowed goal. Tyreek Mitchell wide left of the box, sent the ball low to the back post. Odsonne Edouard tapped in, but the Frenchman had strayed offside. Sheffield United 0, Palace 1.
Apologies to producer Claire and the studio, but Overs was always alert, as is Lee Blakeman at Goodison.
Everton 0, Fulham 0. Arnaut Danjuma's coming on to make his Everton debut, replacing Neil Maupay just seconds after Harry Wilson struck over the crossbar from the edge of the area for Fulham. Still Everton 0, Fulham 0, 18 to play.
The Hood's getting a standing ovation as he's coming off. Triple change is being made. He's going to be replaced by Billy Gilmore. Let's get the team news from St James's Park ahead of the commentary of Newcastle Villa, John Murray.
Well, last season's top scorer for Newcastle, Callum Wilson, is only a substitute for the start of this one. Isak is preferred up front. Tonali makes his league debut, but other signings, Barnes and Livramento, are substitutes. Only one new signing in the Villa team as well. That's Moussa Diaby. Kielemans and Pau Torres are both on the bench, so Digne starts at left back.
A goal at Goodison, Lee Blakeman.
It's 0, Fulham 1, and it's the substitute Bobby Decordova-Reid who got on the end of a cross, a tap in at the back post. Everton, so many chances to go ahead in this game, find themselves behind. Everton 0, Fulham 1.
Thought it was going to be a triple change. At the time being, they've just resisted the urge to bring on Ferguson. He looked like he was going to be coming on as well, but instead we've got Billy Gilmore, who's replaced Dahoud, and also making his debut, Simon Adingra, who's an Ivory Coast forward. He was actually signed from Northumberland in 2022 for £6 million, but last season he was out at the satellite club for Brighton and Hove Albion, Union Saint-Gilloise in Belgium. As Luton Town on the attack, far side. Ruddock clips over the cross. Carlton Morris was there, edge of the area. Pedro gets it away. Brighton still lead 2-0. So Dingra comes on, scored 11 goals in his 36 appearances in Belgian football. And Luton are going to be making another change as well. But that second goal has just deflated the Premier League newcomers.
Yeah, it's just got a few Brighton fans back on their seat, a bit more comfortable sitting there. There was a few nerves, you could feel a bit of tension then running through the stadium, but They seem to have control now, really dominating the ball, moving this Luton team that are still static in their positions, making it hard for Brighton. Looking forward to watching Adingra that's come on. Heard good things about him. A lot of success in the Belgian league. He's obviously must have done something right for them to bring him back and throw him into the mix, especially the first game of the season.
Huddersfield 0, Leicester 1 is the latest score in the Championship. I will be running through all the latest scores. Stevenage leading Shrewsbury 1-0. Notts County 3, Grimsby 2. Bradford have completely turned it around. Bradford City at Valley Parade. Bradford City 2. Colchester United 1. Colchester were leading at Sincil Bank. Lincoln have now got a second goal. Lincoln 2, Wickham 0. That's in League One. And here it's going to be, well, they're going to dispense with the back three. So Mads Anderson has come off. And another debutant for Luton Town, Chidozie Ogbeni, who's a real pacey winger, Republic of Ireland international. So he's going to come on for Mads Anderson, as Rob Edwards looks to try and get something back from this game with 14 minutes remaining of normal time, a minimum, because of course then we will have the added on time from the officials with the injuries. The substitutions, which this season now used to be estimated at 30 seconds. It's exact time for changes that are made. Goals as well, exact time. So there will be a lot of additional time. Could be interesting back in the studio as well. If they're worried about me handing to the wrong reporter at the wrong ground, wait for Sports Report and the pressure at 5 o'clock. Might be coming at 2 minutes past 5 or even later this season at various times.
Joe, although he is going to stop players sometimes thinking about time wasting. A lot of pros have been committed to that.
João Pedro wins the ball off the Camber edge of the area. Welbeck takes over, looking for the shooting opportunity, going the long way round, backheels the ball towards Matoma, and Nakamba gets it away for Luton Town. Doherty on this near side, hits it left-footed forward. Now looking in pursuit of that is Brown. Keeps the ball in play, he's done well. No, he didn't. Got out of play for a throw. We will see the sight of Ferguson. It's going to be another double change for Brighton. Whilst that's happening, we will go back to Bramall Lane. Tom Gale.
Sheffield United 0, Palace 1. Ian, the closest the home side have come to an equaliser. Quick distribution from goalkeeper Fothering up top to Traore, who found his strike partner Asulu. It rippled the side net in one of those where the home fans thought it was in, but it's still Sheffield United 0, Palace 1.
So Evan Ferguson who's coming on. It's Danny Welbeck who comes off. Ferguson, who did ever so well last season, the young Irish forward with 10 goals that he scored last season. And Joel Veltman is going to be coming off. And James Milner, in his 22nd Premier League campaign, gets a standing ovation. Already he's proved to be popular, and he's got a warm embrace from Roberto De Zerbi as he is replaced by Joel Veltman, who signed a new 2-year deal in the summer.
Yeah, great shift from James Milner today, looking fresh, young as ever, getting around the pitch, showing leadership skills when it needed to be calm on the ball, when it needed to be turned over quickly.
Brown with the cross, appealing for handball there, Luton Town. Referee has a look at it and gives it. It was a cross that was fired in, and the referee, David Coote, after a little bit of hesitation, awards Luton Town the penalty. Brighton protest.
Lie side straight away, and just purely down to the distance of the cross and where Lewis Dunk was. I mean, he has turned his back. It is these reverse arm. I thought it was his other, his near side arm that led, but he's actually turned his back and can't even control the back end of his elbow. But it looks as though it's been given.
Yeah, I mean, is it deliberate? No. But are his arms away from the body? Yes. And for that reason, this penalty will be awarded, I'm sure, once VAR has confirmed it. And Carlton Morris has the ball tucked under his right arm. 20 goals last season, the best of his career. And that penalty kick is going to take place once VAR, you would think, has had a look at it. West Brom 3, Swansea 1 is the latest score in the Championship. Wigan 1, Northampton 1 is the latest score in League One. So 10 minutes remain. There will be a lot of added on time. Luton Town, who really have contributed to this game, they've been spirited. It's Carlton Morris up against Jason Steele. Brighton at the moment lead by 2-0. It's in front of the Luton support. Morris runs up and rolls it into the left-hand corner, right-footed. Carlton Morris, the first goal scorer in the Premier League for Luton Town, reduces the arrears and gives that travelling support hope. Brighton 2, Luton 1.
Well, what composure there from Morris for such an historic goal for Luton Town Football Club. He walks up to the ball, he stops, he stutters, and he puts it to the wrong place at Jason Steele. And again, Luton Town are well back in this football game.
Certainly are. It's still Hull KR 10, Lee 16 incidentally in the Challenge Cup final at Wembley. Commentary continues on Sports Extra. Hull City 3, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Blackburn have got a goal back also in the Championship. Rotherham 2, Blackburn 1. Now a goal at Bournemouth. Jonathan Overend.
Equaliser for Bournemouth, and Dominic Solanke has scored it, rounding Areola to finish neatly, but in truth it was a really fluky goal because Antoine Semenyo off the bench tried a shot from distance. He completely mishit it, but it turned in to the best pass of the season. Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1.
So 2 penalties here at the Amex. Brighton's was a soft award, and then they were aggrieved themselves when Lewis Dunk adjudged to have handled from Brown's cross. And it's going to make for a rather nervy 8 minutes that remain.
It will, when you have to say really on the face of it that both penalties were soft. You know, you don't like to see them given, but Luton Town are well and truly back into this football game. And as you say now, Brighton could get jittery, sit back, that could commit then Luton Town players further up the pitch. They've got some size, going to get it up, let it stick, maybe get the ball out wide for crosses.
Well, Luton Town are just going to get back in numbers at the moment. João Pedro's got plenty of pace released on the left-hand side. Matoma in support, takes it in his stride towards the byline, fires over the cross. Couldn't quite fall to Adingra for Brighton and Hove Albion.
You kind of feel that's just been the story of Brighton this afternoon. They've got into real good positions. They've cut the ball back, and it's just not fell for a Brighton player, is it? More often than not, it's gone in advantage of the Luton Town player. On other days, it could easily fall for a striker or a midfield player wearing the blue and white shirt that taps it into the net 2 or 3 times.
It's the voice of Steve Sidwell on BBC Radio 5 Live in the World Service. Latest scores in the Scottish Premiership. Rangers still lead Livingston by 1-0. Ross County 2, St Johnstone 0, St Mirren 2, Dundee 1. Give you League 2, League 1 and the Championship in a moment. Sports report coming up. Results and reaction. Adingra sent scampering away. The Ivorian forward. Giles in that foot chase sees it off for a throw to Brighton. As running forward to take it with his blue and white striped shirt, rippling in the breeze on the south coast. There's even a patch of blue sky. Those threatening skies never delivered the rain that did have a shower or two ahead of kick-off. As the ball is headed back by Gross, appealing for handball on that far side. Ball won by Gilmore, runs through to the goalkeeper Kaminski, wants to release it downfield, but instead then drops it towards Lockyer, who clears it away downfield up towards Morris. Van Hecke does well in that aerial duel. Now the ball is played forward, and Luton at the minute not getting enough men back as João Pedro to Matoma. Once again they combine down the left hand side. Oh, that was a clumsy challenge. That actually looked more of a penalty from Nakamba on the initial one that got them a penalty when Lockyer on Pedro. Here is Estepinian with a shot, parried away by Kaminski, and then Ruddock. Oh, Brighton have got a third goal. Luton never dealt with it, and Adingra on his debut pounced and rifled the ball past Kaminski. A goal really out of nothing. Luton dawdled in defence and were punished, and Brighton Hove Albion have surely sealed the 3 points. Now they lead by 3-1.
Well, I think the whole stadium was waiting for that passage of play to be brought back, because it looked a certain penalty from where we were sitting. They didn't deal with it, Luton. They kind of half cleared their lines. It ricocheted up into the air, and Adingra, just coming on after 5-10 minutes, rifles it into the back of the net. Wasn't dealt with at all from Luton Town. It's like penalty, isn't it? They was give it away very, very cheaply in this division. You're going to get punished. giving the ball away like that in your own 6-yard box. But take nothing away from Adingra. On his debut, rifles it past Kaminski's at his near post. And surely now that is it for Brighton.
Yeah, 3-1 they lead, and a goal on his debut for Adingra. Talking of goals, another one at Ibrox. Connie McLaughlin.
Rangers 2, Livingston 0, and Danilo doubled Rangers lead. The crowd were growing agitated for that second goal after some wasteful play, and it came in the form of a header from close range. It's Rangers 2, Livingston 0.
Goal at Portman Road, Charlie Slater.
81 on the clock, Ipswich 2, Stoke 0. Surely the 3 points are theirs now. Beautiful build-up play from back to front. Caden Jackson with the goal, 2-0 to Ipswich.
We almost had a fourth. It was Evan Ferguson, with a turn and a right-footed curling effort that hit the right-hand post. That would have been the best of the lot.
It would, wouldn't it? And they outnumbered the Luton Town defenders. Evan Ferguson there just caressing the ball with the touch, nipping it back inside, and then trying to wrap his foot around it into that far corner and just punches against the far post and then rifles across the face of the goal. Great delivery and great chance.
And Brighton are attacking, and Matoma, they're looking to cut loose here at the moment, but Luton Town still just can't get hold of the ball. Ball played forward to Ferguson, back with Gilmore. They're probing João Pedro. Out it goes to Estepinian. Brighton Hove Albion lead by 3-1. It's rolled in towards Gross. Gross looking to turn, pulls it back, and the shot was a tame one from João Pedro to Goodison Park, Lee Blakeman.
Everton 0, Fulham 1. Everton so close to an equaliser. Ball over the top, found Iwobi, unmarked, back post, and Leno was on hand to save again. He's having a great game. Everton 0, Fulham 1.
We're going to have 3 more changes very, very soon. The additional time here is going to be interesting. These are the latest scores in League 2. Wimbledon 1, Wrexham 1. Barrow 2, the 10 men of Sutton United 1. They were leading by 1-0. Bradford City have also come from behind as they lead Colchester United by 2-1. Gillingham lead Accrington by 1-0. Harrogate 0, Forest Green 1. MK Dons 1, Tranmere 0. Mansfield 2, Morecambe 0. Newport 4, Doncaster 0. Notts County 3, Grimsby Town 2. Salford 1, Crawley 1. Swindon 2, Crewe 1, Walsall 2, Stockport County 0. So Pelly Ruddock has come off. He's still beating himself up, I think, with a mistake that led to the third goal. He's been replaced by Cauley Woodrow, and Brighton have made a change. Pedro's come off, and Ciso has come on. Let's get an update from Bramall Lane. Tom Gale.
Sheffield United 0, Palace 1, but Wes Fodering, 32 years of age, making a stunning save for the Blades on his Premier League debut. Wide left, Ezer floats the cross in. Anderson from 4 yards can't beat the keeper. Sheffield United 0, Palace 1.
Thank you, Tom. Latest scores in League 1 then. Bristol Rovers 1, Barnsley 1, Burton 0, Derby 2, Cheltenham 0, Bolton 3. They are, well, one of the sides who's won both of their games or in the process of doing that so far this season. Exeter 0, Blackpool 0, Fleetwood 0, Cambridge 2, Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 3, Lincoln 3, Wickham 0, Oxford 1, Carlisle 0, Peterborough 1, Charlton 0, Port Vale 1, Reading 0, Stevenage 1, Shrewsbury 0, Wigan Athletic 2, Northampton 1. Let's get an update from Bournemouth with Jonathan Overend.
Really exciting match this has turned into. Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1. Solanke with the equaliser 9 minutes from time, but then just 90 seconds later, Paquetá hitting the post up the other end. That's the second time in the afternoon West Ham have hit the frame of the goal. Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1.
Luke Berry, incidentally, was the other change, replacing Chong for Luton Town. Kaminski's just kept out Gross as well.
What a goal that would have been. The link up there, it started from still, and the way that Brighton play, the link up play that they play within their own 6-yard box, 18-yard box, and then it drifted its way out. And Pascal Gross, as he does as ever, the little chop and Cruyff dummies the player. Great save from Kaminski.
We're going to find out how much additional time there will be as the ball is played in short. Adingra with the footwork. There he keeps the ball from going behind for a corner kick. Give you the Championship latest scores in a moment. Sports report coming up at the end of this game. St James's Park, we've got commentary of Newcastle Aston Villa on 5 Live to come. Then it's 6:06. Estepinian wins a corner. There's been another goal at Rangers. Connie McLaughlin.
Rangers 3, Livingston 0. Capitulation from a Livingston perspective, but delight if you're a Rangers fan inside Ibrox. It was the new signing and substitute Sima who got on the end of the ball, who managed actually, it hit the inside of the bar and came out. It looked as if it was going wide, but he managed to get on the end of it and put it past Shamal George in the Livingston goal. Rangers 3, Livingston 0.
3-1 to Brighton here Corner taken short, back heel from Gross to Adingra. 7 minutes, a minimum of additional time. Cross comes in, just couldn't keep it in play, over his head and out of go. It goes for a goal kick. Goal at Southampton. Paul Scott.
6 minutes to go. It is Southampton 3, Norwich 4. The visitors retaking the lead. It is the substitute Christian Fasnacht after some uncertain defending from captain Jack Stevens at the back. He drilled it in from 6 yards. Saints 3, Norwich 4.
The result earlier was Coventry City 3, Middlesbrough 0. The latest scores: Birmingham City 0, Leeds United 0, Cardiff 1, Queen's Park Rangers 2, Leicester still lead at Huddersfield by a goal to 0, Hull City 3, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Ipswich Town 2, Stoke City 0, Millwall Bristol City is goalless. At Deepdale, Preston still leads Sunderland by 2 goals to 1. Rotherham down to 10 men 2, Blackburn Rovers 2, Southampton 3, Norwich 4, as we just heard from Paul. Watford and Plymouth is goalless at Vicarage Road. West Bromwich Albion 3, Swansea City 2. They're staging a bit of a fight back as Swansea. They were 3-0 down in the Premier League. There's still been no change. Arsenal beat Forest 2-1 earlier. Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1, 3-1 here to Brighton. Everton 0, Fulham 1, Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1. Here is Enciso, held up by Lockyer. Nakamba tidies up, back to the goalkeeper Kaminski. Steve Sidwell.
We have to say, what we've played now, 91 minutes. This is what the last 4 or 5 minutes is the first time that Luton have been on the ropes, having a wobble. That could be down to the substitutions that was made as well. But they've been outstanding this game.
And it's Luton who are coming forward on that far side, the left now. And Giles provides the support. His cross is a deep one. Well, that was an effort that Brown has come back to him quite quickly. Right-footed, volleyed over. First time, just over the crossbar. Steele must have got a touch to that. It's gone behind for a corner.
Well, they're still going. Paulie Woodrow there at the far post with a real brave header. Looked like there was a clash of heads there. But he made his way back into the box. And Steele just tips it over.
Mansfield 3, Morecambe 0, Burton 0, Derby County 3, Lincoln 3, Wickham 0 are latest scores. Corner kick from the left-hand side. Might come to Woodrow. Hooks it in. Steele has gone AWOL. And it dropped to Carlton Morris, and his header he couldn't keep down, it looping over the top of the crossbar. Brighton still lead by 3 goals to 1. We're in the 3rd minute of the 7 to be added on. How much added on at Goodison Park? Lee Blakeman.
6 added on, Ian. We're into the second of them now. Everton 0, Fulham 1. Another Everton chance though. Iwobi with another cross. This time Tarkowski, header, back post, across the face, a goal, and it just went wide. Another Everton chance goes begging. Fulham lead 1-0.
I think another goal for Brighton, that would be harsh on Luton Town, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. They've been very, very well disciplined in this game, Luton Town. You know, I think as the games wore on and tiredness has come in, the substitutions, it just takes half a yard, split seconds at this level, and you will get punished.
Giles again with a cross in, a little bit too close to Jason Steele, who dives at his near post and stays down on his dark goalkeeping outfit away towards our right-hand side. But Brighton Hove Albion leading here by 3 goals to 1. I think the turning point was that second goal for Brighton, that penalty decision.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of Brighton fans as well were stunned that the decision was given, but it was. They took full advantage. And I think that was then the few little jabs there that Luton Town then took, and just couldn't sort of get back on their feet from it.
It's funny, as you said, because of the Adingra goal for Brighton, the 3rd goal, we never really did go back to talk in detail about that challenge, as that was a little bit late on Matoma. Referees giving the advantage once again. Nakamba, when he caught João Pedro,
it looked a certain penalty. We had a great view of it from here, didn't we? And definitely more so than the penalty that was given. He was waiting for it to be called back from a VAR, but followed up quickly by the goal. But so many positives today from Luton Town and Rob Edwards. They've their first game here, they've got a goal down, 2 goals down. They've not sort of thrown the towel in, they've not capitulated, they've kept going to the very end, committing bodies forward, trying to get on the score sheet. They've got their goal they deserved.
Estepinian released down the left-hand side. Estepinian enters the penalty area. Estepinian rolls it in, and sliding in at the far post is Evan Ferguson. So impressive last season with 10 goals, and he's up and running for this campaign as well. Brighton Hove Albion 4, Luton Town 1, and that scoreline doesn't necessarily reflect the endeavour of the Premier League debutants.
Well, it's the best goal of the afternoon for sure. Lewis Dunk possessing that quality down this left-hand side. A defence splitting pass, weight of pass straight into the avenue for Estupiñán to race onto. A fantastic ball, a trademark ball of his. And all Estupiñán's got to do is just put the ball across the 6-yard box. And there's two players there, in fact, isn't there, waiting. Adingra's there in case Ferguson misses it, but a typical striker that he's smiling before he's even put the ball in the back of the net.
We're going to go straight to St Andrews. There's been a goal. John Bennett.
Listen to this noise. It's Birmingham City 1, Leeds United 0. A penalty from Lukas Jukovic after Ethan Laird had been brought down. A late winner perhaps for Birmingham City. They lead by 1-0.
Rangers 4, Livingston 0 is the latest score at Ibrox in the Challenge Cup. It's Hull KR 16, Lee 16. Commentary continues on Sports Extra. This is 5 Live and the World Service and on BBC Sounds, and it's 4-1 for Brighton and Hove Albion. Back to Ibrox and Connie.
Rangers 4, Livingston 0. What a way to introduce yourself for Kieran Dowell. Edge of the box, right-footed shot from about 20 yards out. I think I'm being kind just slightly though. Into the back of the net. Absolute cracker. Rangers 4, Livingston 0.
No other goals to tell you about elsewhere, but Brighton 4, Luton Town 1. You would imagine that there is still encouragement, positives for Rob Edwards to take from this game?
For sure. You know, if you're looking at dissecting the goals, yes, there was a penalty, a soft penalty was one. The other was gifted.
Yeah, mistake by
the third goal. Other than that, you know, Brighton have had to earn the other 2 goals and earn this win today.
And there indeed is the final whistle, and Luton Town back in the top flight after an absence of 31 years. For a time it looked like they were going to lose 3-1 until Ferguson's goal in the 95th minute, and it indeed finished Brighton 4, Luton Town 1. Steve Sidwell.
Well, the scoreline 4-1. I think the Brighton fans were expecting a high-scoring game, not expecting how diligent and disciplined Luton Town were. Great defensively. They do that throughout the course of this season. They will be picking up points. Their home form has to be the one that saves them this season if they are to regain a Premier League status. But Brighton are off and running.
Well, last season, only Manchester City, Arsenal and Liverpool scored more goals at home in the Premier League, and Brighton and Hove Albion have hit 4 on the opening day. And for the first time since 1977, they've won on the opening day in 3 successive seasons. Brighton 4, Luton Town 1.
So promoted Luton lose, and so do promoted Sheffield United. Tom Gale.
Full time, Steve. Sheffield United 0, Palace 1. For the first time in 3 seasons, the visitors win their opening game. They had 2 goals rightfully disallowed for offside, but the one that stood in the 55th minute, Odsonne Edouard sliding in from close range after excellent work from Ayew to provide the cross. This was close to a fortress here in the Championship last season, but a disappointing start for the majority of the sellout crowd. Full time, Sheffield United 0, Palace 1.
There's been a goal in our feature game in League One. Leyton Orient Portsmouth. Sheridan Robbins.
Orient need to be put out of their misery. It's 4-0 to Portsmouth, and the super sub Cassini Yenji strikes again from the spot after he was pulled down. It's Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 4.
Back into the Premier League, all over at the Vitality. Jonathan Overend.
It turned into an entertaining match. Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1 full time. Dominic Solanke with the equaliser 9 minutes from the end. Lucas Paquetá hitting the post moments after that. Could have won it for West Ham though. Earlier, the moment of the afternoon was Jared Bowen's spectacular curler from 25 yards. Well, he scored the last goal of last season for West Ham. Fitting that he should score the first this time out, and some goal it was. Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1.
Awful start to the season for Everton. Lee Blakeman.
How Everton have lost this game, Steve, I do not know. Everton 0, Fulham 1. So dominant in the first half. Mopé had 2 great chances, as did Iwobi. Leno played brilliantly in the Fulham goal to keep them out. Michael Keane had a goal disallowed for a foul. That pattern of dominance continued at the start of the second half, but Fulham made them pay for missing so many opportunities. 17 from time. Pereira with a cross, tapped in by Decordova-Reid at the back post. Fulham won 7 away games in the Premier League last season. Their form on the road continues at the start of this new one. Everton 0, Fulham 1.
Earlier today, St Helens won the Women's Challenge Cup. The men's final could not be closer. Matt Newsom.
16 apiece here in this Challenge Cup final in golden point time. We're into sudden death. It's Lee have just missed a drop goal through Gareth O'Brien, a player who you would have backed to slot one. Such is the pressure, such is the tension, such are the nerves. He didn't. We're still all square, 16 apiece.
We've had such a final here. How did he miss that drop goal given the opportunity? Hull KR now missed touch.
So Hull KR dead level with Lee Leopards at Wembley Stadium. Back to the football in the Championship, all over at Vicarage Road. Flo Pollock.
Full-time Watford 0, Plymouth 0. An exciting, entertaining game, but neither side clinical enough to get the win. Vacuum Bayo could have won it late on for Watford. One-on-one with the keeper. He put his effort wide. The points are shared. Final score, Watford 0, Plymouth 0.
Championship football returns to Portman Road. And how, Charlie Slater?
Yeah, back with a bang. Ipswich 2, Stoke 0. Luke Wolfenden's header in the first half and Caden Jackson's tap-in with 10 minutes left means Ipswich have won their first 3 games of the season. I can see why the home fans are excited. The sky might just be the limit. Ipswich 2, Stoke 0.
Lots of teams really backing Ipswich Town and Kieran McKenna for success this season. That is a great way to start at home. We're still playing at St Andrews. John Bennett.
Yeah, Birmingham City 1, Leeds United 0. Chance of USA with Tom Brady here. Very few chances, but it looks as though Lucas Jutkovic has won it. Birmingham City 1, Leeds United 0.
Thank you very much, John. Let's go to Huddersfield Leicester at the John Smith Stadium. Sarah Mulcarins.
Yeah, it's ended Huddersfield 0, Leicester 1. One of the favourites to get promotion back to the Premier League, and they had to rely on Steffi Mavidi late in the second half. Lovely footwork on the edge of the area, left hand side, fired it through the legs of keeper Lee Nichols. The only goal of the game, but it won't matter to Leicester. They are 1-0 winners.
Some of the other full times as they come in earlier, of course, it finished Coventry 3, Middlesbrough 0. Another win for Leicester, victorious by a goal to 0 at Huddersfield, as Sarah was just telling us. Elsewhere, Millwall 0, Bristol City 1. Preston beat Sunderland by 2-1. There is a penalty in the thriller at St Mary's. Paul Scott.
A quite remarkable match we have seen so far, and it continues. We are in the 6th minute of stoppage time. Adam Armstrong has already scored 1 penalty for Southampton, and he has a chance now to make it 4-4 in injury time. He steps up and he scores. Delight around me at a sold-out St Mary's. This seesaw contest continues. It is Southampton 4, Norwich 4.
Let's go up into Scotland. It's full-time at Ibrox. Connie McLaughlin.
Rangers 4, Livingston 0. Rangers are off the points mark in the Scottish Premiership, and it wasn't the most convincing performance at times despite the scoreline, but they did finish with the energy and spirit that they started this game. The goals this afternoon: Sam Lammers, Danilo Sima, and an absolute screamer from Kieran Dowell. I do suspect, though, Steve, the fans, if they're being honest, would say Rangers still look like they've got a little few new season creases to iron out as this season goes on. Rangers 4, Livingston 0.
Back to St Andrews, John Bennett.
It's finished Birmingham City 1, Leeds United 0. Very few chances. Then in the 90th minute, Ethan Laird was brought down in the box. Lucas Jutkovic buried the penalty. Fantastic atmosphere here. Birmingham City 1, Leeds United 0.
Back to our feature game in League One. Still playing in the game between Leyton Orient and Portsmouth. Sheridan Robbins.
Still going, and it's still Orient 0, Portsmouth 4. It really has been that dominant as well from Portsmouth. The Portsmouth fans are in fine voice with the full-time whistle very soon. It's Leyton Orient 0, Portsmouth 4.
Feature game in League 2, still playing at Meadow Lane. Shojo Saka.
Notts County 3, Grimsby 2. We have still got around 2.5 minutes of added time to go. Notts County have come from behind twice in this match, then they've edged in front, probably fair on the balance of quality chances. The third goal was an absolute beauty, a lovely cross from the left, a diving header finish from Dan Crowley. Spectacular stuff. Still Notts County 3, Grimsby 2.
Let's bring you up to date with a couple of the other full times in the Championship. So QPR, who were hammered on the opening day, have got an away win at Cardiff. Finished Cardiff City 1, QPR 2. They're still playing in the game between Hull and Sheffield Wednesday. Ojan Tufan scored a hat-trick for Hull, and they lead by 4-2. It's finished Millwall 0, Bristol City 1. Millwall, who were dumped out of the Cup in midweek as well. Preston have now beaten Sunderland by 2-1. It's finished Rotherham United 2, Blackburn Rovers 2. Fred Onyedinma scored the second for Rotherham, then got booked for his celebration, then got booked again a minute later for asking for a Blackburn player to be booked, and after that Sami Šmodić scored twice for Blackburn, and it finished 2-2. It has also finished West Brom 3, Swansea 2. Let's go to the AIG Women's Open at Walton Heath and Ian Carter.
And leader Ali Ewing has been struggling. She has dropped 3 shots so far, falls back to 7 under par. Her lead is down to a single shot. It was 5 at the start of the day. And in the group that is just 1 shot behind is Britain's Charlie Hull, who's completed the front 9 in 1 under par.
There are 2 more Premier League commentaries tomorrow on 5 Live. At 2 o'clock, it's Brentford against Tottenham. That's followed by Chelsea-Liverpool at 4:30. Still to come tonight, we're off to St James's Park as Newcastle United welcome Aston Villa. That's after Sports Report, which is next. Brighton's 4-1 victory over Luton. Brighton midfielder James Milner has been speaking to George Cummins.
I think there was plenty of good out there. Good to get the win, which is always the most important thing. First game of the season. Plenty of chances, could have scored a few more, so that was maybe a disappointing point that we could have put the game to bed a bit earlier, but I think the response when it went to 2-1 was fantastic, and how we played at that point was pleasing.
What has the manager said to you about how good is it to play in this Roberto De Zerbi side, because they play good football, don't they?
Yeah, it's enjoyable, the way we want to play, and that's the amount of chances we created, keeping the ball, and plenty of different problems we can cause the opposition, because obviously teams are always going to set up differently against you, how to defend it, and we've got different ways of combating that. So it's been great in the pre-season, learning how we play and being part of that.
There's a lot of talk Brighton last season about not having enough goal scorers. You look like you've got several good goal scorers this season with Ferguson, Danny Welbeck and João Pedro.
Yeah, for sure, and the wide boys as well. We've got dangerous players all over that front line. Pascal will always come in with a few goals as well. So it's exciting. Front line, plenty of options, plenty of players who play in different ways, which is important. Obviously, having different attributes. The boys coming off the bench, Julio as well, and Facundo as well. So there's exciting talents everywhere, and that's pleasing to have those options, which we're going to need in this season. There'll be a few disappointed lads not starting the first game of the season, but I think everyone knows that it's going to be a real squad effort this year with the amount of games we're hoping to play, and obviously being in Europe, it's important that everyone's ready to go.